Better leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
40.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Freaking the mood to choose one. But they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain. GM, thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. It warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here, and does us a solid. Never any financial advice in the show. Crypto's risky, NFTs risky. Meme coins exceptionally risky and go to zero at a moment's notice. Holding USD or the Chinese, all of it's extremely risky. No one knows what's happening. Markets are melting down. Don't put any money in. You can't afford to lose. And know that Steve and I hold tokens we likely talk about from time to time here on the show. We're not financial advisors. We're certainly not your financial advisors. Just join us for some fun, some information, and some entertainment along the way. Morning to all of our GMers out there. Steve and I both were hitting Diabolito in the YouTube chat at the same time. We got RDL and Machiavelli over there. The best GMers drop the GMs in all 3-4 locations. We greatly appreciate it. We got Steve's abstract stream fired up top. Probably talk a little bit about some big coin mining maybe this morning, Steve. GM, sir, how you doing?
GM. Shout out to everybody out there. A lot of GMers in the abstract, which I always love seeing early on. GM, teacher Katie, appreciate you coming on the stream and being the guinea pig for our first swap or not. That was a really fun one yesterday. Mesh, Diablito, Mikey, Green Edge, Lit Dog, good seeing you out there across there. Of course, we mentioned all our good friends out there. Oxy, Diablito with one of the coolest YouTube pictures, I think. It's very cool. Way cooler than anything I could ever do. Machiavelli, RDL, Hizzy, Board Osaka, and of course all the people across all the chats. You see all of our good friends who hit tons and tons of chats. Hitting all three is very helpful, but Manly, good to see you're in. GM, Drew, Dobbins, James, always good to see you out there. Keep on building. Excited that you just keep on chugging forward. Maria, Wajda, Cheddar, Dwayne, Alpha Miner, Dort, screenwriter Dave, Kapow, every single morning. Mel, always good seeing you in there each and every morning. I hopefully Big Bear's in here. Mel saying you know, I make it back first and now Big Bear's missing you. Good. Seeing you out there is awesome. 1 in a million and all the good friends. I gotta say, like, it's funny. Mel said she's in Ohio today, and she always thinks when she meets someone, does Captain and Steve know them? Like, Ohio is like this like tiny thing. It is kind of small. But yeah, I always appreciate Mel. Mel usually has like 2 or 3 comments in before we even start talking. So she is there each and every morning. Dunk Cookie, GM, still playing with that amazing dude. Very envious of how cool that dude is. Although I guess everything's on sale. I don't love I'll pull up Zier. Zier put something out that made me feel down horrendously in a little bit as far as like the price of ETH goes. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just sitting here. I will say in this economy, I did buy a expensive candle, which is like not that much. It's like I don't know, like a $20 candle or something like that, as opposed to like the $5 candles. It is giving me.
I think a BOGO. If I spring for the $20 candle, it's got to be one of the BOGOs at Publix. I might occasionally drop 20 if I can get 2 for 20.
So for reference on that, by the way, give us a like, a retweet, a comment on the room. GM to everybody out there, appreciate you giving us love as we get this thing going, and we will talk. We'll work through the market together. We'll get this thing done together. It's obviously not a grim market.
We're going to talk candles and how to make our home smell better this morning. Coffee. What are the scent? What's the scent alpha? Candles are expensive. They burn. They don't last long. What's better than a candle?
Well, for me, so here's
genuine question. I've used different things in the past. I still default to candles, but I feel as if I'm quite literally burning money every time I light a candle, and I feel like there's got to be better alternative options in today's world.
Yeah. By the way, Crypto Pain, our producer, saying send out a search party because we do
Cali time. I think he's on Cali time.
That's right. Well, that's soft. He should be up. We know Von Fronten.
Guy was out late last night getting. Well, I can't say what kind of tattoos he's getting. I don't want to dox the guy, but yeah, I think he's out enjoying a trip with his wife.
Yeah. Who would in this economy again? Who would do so? So I went through an essential oils phase because they were easy and it was fun and it was kind of relaxing, and sort of pulls the scent out. I prefer, and I know there's data around essential oils, particularly ones that are like woodsy, like there's actually some like hinoki oil and things like that. I prefer like woodsy smells. I like earthy cedar, Fraser fir, like that type of smell. I got a cedar stack going right here. I don't know if it's gonna burn my hands showing it, but got a nice cedar stack candle going right here. It's honestly, like, I was doing research because I need candles. So there's different, like, quality in candles matters. I've learned. I talked to ChatGPT about this. I have one in my room that has a nice like smell to it, but you can see like sort of the black. Oh, Von Fronten, not to be outdone, says I am here. Don't worry. It has like black smoke coming off it. This one has like no black smoke. It's like high quality ingredients because I'm in my basement. My office is in my basement. It's where it's set up. I don't want to have like smoke everywhere. I don't want to have essential oil gas everywhere, whatever you call it, mist, steam. And so I went ahead and I got the pricier candles to try out to see how I'm feeling. A couple of them haven't gotten here yet. This one got here. It's nice. It's relaxing. I like having the little open flame. So I'm trying to work my way through it. Green Edge says my wife bought an Aromatech unit, and they have a lot of smell flavors, no oils. So yeah, I don't know. I'm more of a candle guy. Always have been. I went through an essential oils phase, but it always comes back to if you get high quality, it makes a difference.
James says, funny timing on the candle talk. What scent would you associate with ocean breeze? Because a new candle my wife bought is labeled ocean breeze, but in the description, it says a wonderful smell of peaches and oranges. At first, I was going to make fun of it. And then true story, I live by the ocean and I ate a wild peach from my neighbor's peach tree that was hanging over my backyard yesterday. So smell of, and I'm sure there's oranges in Florida here. So yeah, the smell of oranges and peaches checks out, James. I'm sorry that to surprise you on that one. At first I was going to dunk on it, but after thinking through it, yes, oranges and peaches are very much of the ocean breeze scent.
People in warm weather location asking what the fuck is a basement. Janner in the DJ Network War Room chat saying, I'm in the market for green candles if anyone has recommendations. Which, by the way, how about this? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
How, like this, someone needs to ship this right now. How do we not have a red candle and a green candle collection coming out of a crypto native company? How has someone not shipped red candles or green candles as a merch item?
Yeah, I mean,
all that, like, we don't need another black hoodie. Steve and I are your target demographic for that. However, we've got plenty. Someone ship some red candles and some green candles, please.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was talking, you talk about green candles. I got hit up just yesterday. So it turns out that I missed a very obvious green candle by not being meme coin guy. And I don't know if obvious is the right word.
I'm telling you, man, the meme coin trenches are back. It's not what run back the show we played a couple weeks ago. The trenches are back. It's not what you think I mean by it, but they're absolutely back. It's just like a daily runner is not going to 100 million. It might go to 3 million, but it's running off real viral stuff. The memes you called out the other day, you would have been first to market, Steve. Like, you could have got in probably sub 100K market cap, all those memes printed.
Yeah, no, I mentioned in the show for people who missed it. So we'll get into the market stuff. Markets are down. We're doing our best to vibe through it.
Steve and I here are calling alpha. We're just not taking our own advice. We just don't fully understand the alpha that we're calling on the show sometimes.
In the
like you probably, I go back and look. We checked the tape. I bet you gave multiple 100x's with your debrief on the Minecraft movie, Steve. Multiple.
Yeah, this is what we ended up getting. By the way, a lot of strong opinions. B Epic says candles are the only way. B Epic's the one who pointed out to me that I missed the green candle the other day. I had this I was debriefing the Minecraft movie the other day, and one of the things I noted was that there were 3 points in the Minecraft movie that the theater erupted in literal applause and cheers. And my assumption at the time was that was because those were like particularly like seminal moments that related to the Minecraft game. Like when they opened the portal to the Netherworld, I'm like, oh, they're excited about opening the Netherworld because that's bringing them to the next part of the movie. Nay, the reason why people were going nuts is, excuse me, the reason why people were going nuts in the movie theater is they were memes. I asked my kids afterwards. I was like, people went nuts during Chicken Jockey. Also, heartwarming. One of the parts where they went nuts, I'm actually getting like goosebumps thinking about it, was when they had a pig with a crown come on. And I was like, why did everybody go nuts in that? Apparently, there was a Minecraft streamer named Technoblade who lost his battle to cancer earlier in the year or last year. And so the Minecraft movie folks put like an ode to him in by putting this pig with the crown in, which was really, really touching. So that was a really cool thing by them kind of knowing what they're doing. But one of the ones I called out was I said Chicken Jockey. Everyone went nuts for Chicken Jockey. They all said it. They all went crazy. Well, somebody showed me Chicken Jockey's ticker. B Epic did. I looked it up because I saw someone on the timeline mention Jockey. I kid you not. I actually didn't want to say it was like sub 500K when I saw it, when I just looked up Jockey, because someone was like, oh, we haven't even started yet. Mr. Beast is talking about it. It's 3 million plus last I checked. Now, don't go in and buy it. It's probably peaked. It's over. But, I mean, that's an easy 3x. And if I put like 2 SOL and I'd have 6 SOL, which is probably worth about $12 by the end of this cycle, which would be a lot of money. I could go and get, Chipotle for that. But yeah, so there are definitely opportunities there. I suppose I'm still not going to be playing the meme streets. I have no desire to burn my crypto in memes with an ever falling knife at the moment. Like, I don't want to get into that game of hot potato where with this going on, but it was definitely I'll have to check what Chicken Jockey's at nowadays. Oh, there it is. It's actually on the front page here of Bird Eye when I look at it, and market cap of almost 5 million. So I missed at least a 5x that I could have, sold all the way up over and over again on Chicken Jockey, which I was correct on. Again, don't go in and buy it. I don't think this thing has legs to be the next big thing. But
the next time Steve shares a meme that his kids shared with him that has not been a runner yet, pay attention. I'm telling you, it's back. This is how the meme trenches should work. And if you're dialed in to pop culture, there's also one, I'm not going to go there. It's a family-friendly show, but there was another one I saw popping on the timeline that I'm pretty sure probably has a meme. I didn't even go looking, but there's pop culture, internet culture. It's making its way back into the meme trenches. It's organic. It's not Hayden and his Kelsey Adventure friends that are scamming, pumping these things up to hundreds of $1 million. But if you have a decent meme that captures attention for more than a day, 99.9% certain there is going to be at least one meme that runs to a 7, maybe 8-figure market cap. It's a different game, but it is a winnable game for those that are willing to play.
Yeah, I'm not willing to play. I don't care. And also, I thought to myself, I'm like, are adults going to buy a child's meme? Apparently, yes. So that was there. That was actually my thing. Is like I thought to myself, actually,
are adults going to buy something in this space? Like, that's a serious question.
Well, like my initial thought when I saw the memes too, and we'll get to Funky in a second. I know Funky is ready to rock, but apparently, adults will buy anything except ETH. The Trump administration dumping ETH after Eric Trump said, "Great time to buy ETH." Or not the Trump administration, World Liberty Financial. Who knows? Same difference at this point. But no, I like literally thought about meme coins, and one of the things I almost put in my tweet over the weekend on Saturday about Chicken Jockey was like, and no, like I don't think this has any correlation to meme coins. Would have been wrong. So there you go. I didn't think anybody was going to get into it, but apparently the adults saw the kids and are.
Here's the thing: every meme will have a meme coin. I don't think there's another outcome that's even possible going forward. Every meme will have a meme coin. It may not break $100,000. There's just way too many of them getting created still. I just don't see a world where there's anything that catch virality that someone doesn't go create a meme coin about it. Whether it catches any traction or not, to be determined. But I do think we're going to see these mini runners on a day-to-day basis.
I hate everything about this. I mean, it is what it is, but it's just not my. And like I said, I love people making money doing your thing. It's just it's not my thing. And doesn't speak to me. But Funky, as a tech lover and Bitcoin maxi, and not really a maxi, but a Bitcoin lover, are you trading Chicken Jockey memes? What brings you up here this morning?
No, actually, well, I was drawn to the candle conversation. I'm a recovering clean cotton maxi from Yankee Candle. But I was curious if you guys have been up on all the new research about how toxic scented candles are. That's why I was just curious about the conversation you guys.
That's why the expensive ones are important, as I understand it. As I talk to like ChatGPT about it anyway, the expensive one, like so. I mentioned this before. I have a candle in my room that is a like sort of candle that has black smoke coming out of it, lower quality ingredients. Then I have a candle, and I actually learned a little bit about this when Doodles actually came out with when Doodles through the incubator had a candle come out that was like really high quality and it was expensive. And they're like, why is it expensive? And they talk about the oils and the different things they put in as well. Epic says scented candles are 100% toxic. Not all scented candles are 100% toxic, at least as I understand it. Now, somebody can tell me otherwise, but the one I am burning right now, and I can kind of tell you what ingredients are made in it, are basically, I asked, is this bad for me? Is this going to be toxic? Is this going to ruin me? And ChatGPT says the more expensive ones make a difference. So the one I am using is, I'll have to look and see what it says. If it says like it's a beeswax, coconut and beeswax blend. I don't know. Like I'll have to look at it.
So the toasty one that you were talking about, it says it was a nostalgic notes of cotton candy and rainbow sherbet that develops with a zest of grapefruit and serenity of a floral meadow, blending beautifully to color your home with joy. And it was a hand poured soy coconut candle, Steve.
Yeah, I think coconut maybe is the alpha. I don't know, but like everything I read, like there are literally, I didn't go this deep. Like ChatGPT initially mentioned, because I'm thinking, how expensive can candles be? I'm like, price is not an option. It's like, all right, this top one I recommend is $85 a candle. I'm like, pass. That's basically the price of one Solana at this point. So I was like, absolutely not. Actually, it's probably ETH is going to $85 at the moment. So I could basically get a Bored Ape for $85 at this point. So I'm like, absolutely not. And I looked at some other ones that were like slightly less expensive, but also made out of quality ingredients. So apparently there makes a difference. I don't know. Funky may be right. I may be poisoning myself as we speak, but the flickering flame is feeling good. So I'll have to go back to my candle chat with ChatGPT and be like, are these toxic and going to kill me? Because I specifically asked about that because I kind of asked which one is healthier, which one is better, which one's going to affect me. While we're on random health and wellness, by the way, Cap, local business. Love me some local business. I ordered local honey yesterday. Probably around 1 p.m. I saw there was motion at my front door at like 7 p.m. yesterday, 8 p.m. They delivered it same day, made with local bee pollen. It is fucking delicious, dude. Like I took a scoop of this thing.
Like if you have any sort of allergies, that's the best thing you could do for seasonal allergies is find yourself some good local honey like Steve did.
Yeah. Well, and I had seen that, and Dawn has some congestion things, so like we want to get it there as well.
Tariffs can't slow down local honey, Steve. This is the alpha. Like, forget about the tariffs. Stop buying international. Just go find your local farmers market. Save the world.
And they like sent me a text being like, "Hey, your local honey was delivered." I actually gave it the heart emoji because they looked like they had an iPhone, just so they would get like the because I didn't think it was appropriate to respond like, "Thanks so much. Can't wait to try it." I was just like, gave it a little heart emoji. And yeah, I took a scoop of it yesterday. Because I just mainline honey. I think it's so good when I have good honey. I just took a scoop of like a teaspoon of it and just like boom. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, infused with bee pollen is one of them I got. The other one I didn't. I'm going to go infused with bee pollen moving forward because that one was, I like the taste on that one better, more flavorful. But yeah, man, stoked about that. So scented candles, expensive scented candles, local honey. I don't know if I'm going to redo expensive scented candles in this economy because I am gonna start pinching pennies a little bit tighter, but I don't know, Cap. I don't know even what direction we go with this. We can go straight into market if you want because it is down horrendously. But you tell me.
Yeah, we can hit it. I was gonna go off on a rant about I should be ordering more local food. I just gave Factor a try, Factor meals for the first time, and they're fine, they're good. I'm just not a fan of the microwave. Talking like health stuff, it's probably purely in my head, but I don't know. I feel like 20 years from now, they're going to come out and say the microwave was bad for us. We shouldn't have been microwaving our food. So again, purely probably in my head alone, but I feel for like something and it's not even like a real, like, I guess if you compare it to like carryout, it's cheaper. I feel like something in my head, it's still paying a premium. And it just feels like microwave food is not a premium quality. Have you tried Factor or no?
No, but I have done similar things. There is
I've done like the stuff you have to prep. And I think even though it takes more time, I prefer prepared food versus frozen food microwaved. It's good food. It's just I'm not a fan of frozen food microwave.
Yeah, there's I'm trying to remember the one that Nestle acquired that I did for a while. Nestle acquired one that I did for a while that was pretty good. But again, it was kind of tasty, but it was like, I don't know, like, do you really want to like, they're like, get your filet mignon steak from Factor and you put it in and you take it and you're cutting it open and you're like, like it's just, I don't know. It's just not my, I agree. Like microwave I use for things like reheating my chili, and things. Are you taking your bra off underneath your shirt cap? That looks like
I've got my old man Funky armband on. I had to show Funky my armband.
Oh yeah. The good old elbow band. I got one of those as well. We are all, by the way, as I found out recently, because Funky distinguished, I thought I had tennis elbow. He's like, oh, it sounds like Cap has golfer's elbow like me. I also have golfer's elbow. So we all have. I
took my peptides this morning and got my armband. I slept in. I was late to the gym, so I was a little scrambling here a bit this morning, but still grinding the gym. Changed some of the workouts to alleviate some stress on the elbow, and I'm wrapping the thing and doing all the stuff to try to get back to normal. I can't get old this fast, Steve.
Yeah, Funky.
We Cap, because I, like Steve pointed out, am a quote unquote geriatric 80-year-old man who likes to listen to spaces on X like I'm listening to the radio. So I didn't see the elbow band, but I'm glad it's helping. I'm gonna step down because I'm gonna get to the gym myself. You guys have a great day. Keep listening.
Good on you. Always welcome up, Funky. If we can get you to skip the gym one day, you should do a coffee with Captain. We can get you to pull a card with us one day on stream or something. We'd love to have you up here because we got that segment every Tuesday. So we'll have to push one day.
I will do it. Let's do it. Let's figure it out.
Awesome. That is Funky will skip one of his 4 leg days a week to come up with us, which I appreciate. Yeah, the elbow thing I learned. I keep saying golfer's elbow. I almost said garbage elbow, but that might have been more appropriate because I have garbage elbow. Trying to get through it, but I don't know, man. Just the
we markets. This say me LOL. Kobe says if tariffs on China reach 1,000%, we will do an episode of Up Only. That's what we need to bring the market back. We need an episode of Up Only.
There was actually a funny tweet. I know, like a lot of people don't like. I like opposing views, right? And Adam Cochran is one of the people with the Pudgy Penguin PFP who has opposing views. I'm trying to find.
It doesn't matter what we're talking about. You could just classify Adam Cochran as someone with opposing views. Any topic, just throw it in. He's gonna have a contrarian view on it, most likely.
There's one where I don't want to like misquote it, but he had a really I like this one. So Chamath has been like actually kind of look not great in this market. Because he's we'll talk a little bit about like maybe tie level tariffs. We'll talk some price action. We'll talk about how we're playing this market. We'll talk about Bitcoin again. Like, retweet, comment on the room as we get it going. We'll get through some stuff. I actually have some ApeCoin DAO stuff I want to talk about as well. Because I had some thoughts, just some evergreen thoughts I want to hit on. Adam Cochran is funny because Chamath is tweeting. So I'll kind of give it like Chamath has done a couple things. One, I'm going to share on screen. This isn't the tweet. I'll talk about one tweet, then I'll go back to the one that I'm talking about that Adam Cochran just kind of made me laugh on. One tweet, he made a comment where he was like, Chamath, like right after the Trump administration took over and see that green in the markets. This is what Trump administration does. And then like 3 weeks later, he's like, this is the market shaking out the fact that they were overcooked. It's like, you can't have it both ways, man. He said, I'm hearing they are dumping U.S. treasuries and trying to move rates to shift narrative and make our upcoming treasury auctions more expensive. May make sense to delay auctions next week. China can't sell indefinitely. Again, Adam, when he starts off, because he's so spicy, he goes, can we start a GoFundMe to get the All In podcast to take an economics class? And then he explains it, and he's very rational in that way. But the fact that he drops like this, like, can we start a GoFundMe for the All In podcast to take an economics class? I saw another one where somebody AI faced Trump onto Murad in that interview, talking about like the greatest economy, and we're just before the boom. So we're memeing our way through it. It's funny, but I just like when I saw Adam, he's like, "Can we start a GoFundMe?" He has these sharp responses where I appreciate somebody who is just so surly with absolutely no time for shit. Like, he's got this like Stephen A. Smith quality about him, where he's just like, somebody comes at him and he will be ready to go, which I think is so funny. So anyway, we'll see what happens with the tariff stuff. We are not tariff experts. In all
seriousness, like, this isn't even a joke. Mackie says it in the chat. One silver lining to tariffs is eating local becomes even more of an attractive option. Like, people have been beating this drum. Support your local farmers market. Support your local farmers. Eat local. Like, it's been a thing for at least the last decade plus. All the restaurants, like, if they want to be the best restaurant in town, they're buying local. It's local. It's farm to table. Now actually do the thing. Now actually stop talking about it and just start buying local. Start supporting your local farmers. Start supporting your local artisans. What is the proper word?
Artisanal.
Who makes the candles though? You support your local candle maker. Like it's not even a joke. Like, it's just good stuff to do in general. You're getting better quality stuff. And like, I'm talking to myself too. Like, I've been talking, like, my mom and brother, they split half a cow. Like, my cousin has a farm, and they, they're getting a half a cow a year that'll, really good, high quality meat. Like, there's stuff that you can do if you're really worried about taxes. Well, maybe skip Walmart this week and go to your local farmers market. Those organic, fresh, homegrown goods that are typically more expensive, the market's going like this, and they're starting to become about the same price as the highly, produced stuff that's, highly manufactured and full of junk that's in your supermarkets. Like, in all seriousness, like, reconsider at least the food you're eating. I think is a good place to start. Steve's with his local honey endeavors.
Yeah, Diablito is understands the economy though. Says get the whole cow. I like, look, I mean, local is something we should always do. But that's like, it's like, that's one subsect, obviously,
yes.
Like, of everything. But I agree. It's something we should always be thinking about. In fact, we like to eat at local restaurants. We like to get local food where we can. We like to do CSA. If you don't know what that is, it's like sort of a sustainable, what does it stand for? Sustainable agriculture is the SA. I can't remember, community sustainable agriculture maybe, but like, we have a local CSA that we do, which gets you seasonal vegetables based on what they're growing at the moment. There is a butcher down the street from me, which I'm trying to utilize more. I actually need to check it out. They opened recently, and they also opened a little restaurant next door to that I want to do. I'm a big local guy because you just get better quality. Like, if you go to a butcher, you're probably getting better quality. If you go to like a community sustainable agriculture, is pretty good. So I don't know.
In Pinstripe Gator in the abstract chat says, this is kind of the whole point, fellas. It is, but it isn't, right? There's a lot more to this than just where we buy our produce. I mean, it's stuff that I don't understand all of it. I'm not a geopolitical expert. I'm not an economist. Like, I'm paying attention to what's happening because I do think it's important. But if we, like I said the other day, let's go back to first principles. Like this is so many forever. We've talked about buying local, eating local, support local. Like now you have another excuse to do it. Is it historically a little bit more expensive? Yeah. Is it a little bit more inconvenient? You may not be, I mean, maybe not. Like Steve ordered honey and had it delivered to his house same day. But in all seriousness, like I do think like there is some silver lining in all this stuff. Hopefully it's causing me to rethink some of my habits that I've just done because it's just the way it's always been. We are so spoiled in terms of how convenient our life has become. Some things that aren't even inconvenient. If you think back like even 20, 30 years ago, let alone 100 years ago, this stuff's not inconvenient. It just may take a little more time, a little more effort. But at the end of the day, you're getting higher quality stuff. It's better for your body. You're supporting the local economy. And I don't think we talk about like focus on what you can control. That's one thing. It's not going to change the 10-year rate. It's not going to change tariffs, but it can, help you change some habits that are probably a net positive for you in the long run, regardless of what plays out with this, the tariff wars.
Yeah, no, the local honey is a good example too of like, I'm trying to remember what it was recently. There's another situation recently where Dawn and I just have good experiences with local businesses because they care more and they take it seriously. We had I ordered something from a local deli. They didn't have it in stock. And when we showed up, they're like, I'm so sorry. We went to pick it up. They're like, we don't have it in stock. They gave me like another thing, which they made up real quick. And they looked at the desserts and they have amazing desserts here. And yes, I am trying to lose some weight, but damn, those desserts are good. And he's like, pick any dessert you want and let's give you a slice. I'm sorry we didn't have what you're looking for. Or the local honey person texting me to say, hey, we dropped it off. Thank you so much for your business. Those little things do mean something. And so I do really enjoy that. And Pinstripe Gator, I agree on some local business stuff. I think stop relying on other countries to make stuff is a little more complicated because it's like, again, we don't need to get totally deep into the tariffs, but it's like, there are certain things that other countries do well and certain things we do well. And it's like sort of like the...
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, it's like the idea is like, just like doing business. It's like Cap and I might do this show really well, but it doesn't mean that we're going to do the videos and graphics really well. We can do them pretty well, but Payne can do them very well. So we have Payne. And like, I don't think we should be like, okay, let's just do them all ourselves. Cause like we should, save the money and do that. So I think it's like manufacturing jobs are important to save in certain things, but it's like, certain things that other countries do better and less expensive and more efficiently. And we do other things better, like tech and innovation. And so that's where it's like, that's where it gets confusing on like the goods, the services, and the trade-offs that happen. And so, I see what you're saying. The problem is like, Pinstripe Sater is saying, don't agree, but we've become too reliant on other countries to make stuff we really need. Yes and no, but like it's not going to stop what the labor looks like overseas. It's not going to stop what our labor market looks like.
It's and I too, like the one thing I do want to double down on where he says, I own a small business, like you guys kind of hypocritical not to support local small businesses in his opinion. Not only do I support small businesses, I take it to the nth degree. Like when I owned Verizon stores, if my banker didn't have Verizon, I switched banks. If my true story, you've heard me talk about my tenant rep broker who, like not even exaggeration, saved me hundreds of thousands, maybe 7 figures over the years we worked together. Our guy Riggs doing some great tenant rep work in New York City for anyone that's looking for commercial or retail space in the city. At the time when we first met, it was like, I saw his name all over town. He was based out of Owensboro, Kentucky, which we had it was our flagship store at the time. We only had like 3 or 4 stores when we first met. And we working with him, it would grow from those 3 stores to over 30 in just a couple years. And when we first met, he asked me the question of what's it going to take to win your business? And I was like, well, it looks like you got an AT&T phone. Is that right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you're going to have to switch it to Verizon. I'm only going to do business with people who do business with me. He's like, that's fair. I'll be in tomorrow. And he switched his 6-line business account to Verizon and I gave him my business. And that resulted in, I think he got better wireless service, but the net result for me was, a 6, if not 7-figure savings in lease work over the next several years. I do that with everyone. Like, I'm not even joking. If someone, when I'm selling a product or a service, if someone who I'm giving my business to is giving their business elsewhere, like I would go to a different stylist if they wouldn't switch their phones to Verizon. I was a psycho about it. So I do believe it's really important everyone should support their local businesses, especially if you are a local business owner. Like that's tell the world, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And I think more of that is certainly a good thing, certainly a positive thing. When you talk about manufacturing, it's much easier to shift where you're buying your food from than it is for a company that's manufacturing something like the iPhone that we're not going to talk about widgets this morning, but something that has thousands of components in it, to bring all those components on, to the US. It is a massive disruption for manufacturing that most manufacturing has a lot of parts, all of which are typically not made in the same country. Not even just in, it's not that they're all made in China. It's most, like an iPhone has parts from, I don't know how many different countries. And that is a big disruption. It's hard to just do, right? Even some of these manufacturing companies, like, yeah, we'd love to bring all of our manufacturing on shore. It's just not that easy. And not even just capital cost. It's just logistically very hard. It would cause it is causing supply chain disruption in some cases. But when it comes to food, I think that's one of the easy ones for us locally to at least think about. I get it. It can be more expensive. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's good that highly produced food is becoming more expensive. But if it's narrowing that gap between the healthy food, the good organic local food, like hopefully that drives more people to eating healthier.
Yeah, and Pinstripe Gator says that's fine. Why pay those countries an absurd tariff on top? It's the same idea as like if Cap and I are going out for sponsors, if someone runs a space that has 4 people that show up and don't do streaming and don't, do appearances, well, then chances are those people are going to demand less of a premium on advertising, right? And very similarly, like the tariff we pay for doing a, better job, bigger audience, bigger reach, better product is going to be higher. Like that's why we pay tariffs to other countries. Other countries pay tariffs on imports. Now, again, am I saying it's perfect? No, I'm not like trying to claim that. Like I said, like there's, it was funny though that the economic expert that like the administration and everybody has been quoting basically came out and said they're using me as their example and they're reading my research all wrong, which is like was like a crazy thing to see. Like the one that they were like, this is the expert that's saying so, and then like the expert that was saying so they like cite in their reasoning was basically being like, no, that's not what I mean by that at all. And I'm against the tariffs. But I think like the local farming and local like eating, I agree. Like we do that extremely well here. The analogy I would almost make, which is like very oversimplified, by the way, I don't think the War Room had Cap saying widgets before me because I shared the DC investor widgets thread. So I made a point not to say widgets. So I think if you're taking the poly market bet on that when it was 94% one way and the 6% hit, I would say that like, think of it like getting in shape. If I tell you, if somebody is 300 pounds and I say, great, go run a marathon tomorrow, it's not a fair ask. If someone is 300 pounds and I say, we're going to work to run a marathon I remember there was a story I heard on like Tim Ferriss forever ago. And there's a guy who's like a trainer and he got somebody to, he got like a 70-year-old, like doing like, if you don't know what a snatch is, it's like a Olympic lift, got him to snatch like, 185 pounds or something at like 70 years old, or it's something like that. I'm probably messing the story up, but something to that degree. The guy came in at like 65. The first year he just did stretching. The second year he did stretching and some work with like a PVC pipe. The third year he did stretching and PVC pipe and maybe put a little weight on the bar. And eventually by the time he was doing it, he had the form and everything was working. If you're trying to bring manufacturing back in some way, shape, or form, I don't think like ripping the Band-Aid off and throwing on like 100+% tariffs is the right way to go about it. I think, shame on us, because people will say like one of the arguments that people have is, well, people in Wheeling, West Virginia and Dearborn, Michigan aren't going to start making, doing tech and AI right off the bat. Well, no shit. Like you have to be skilled up, but that's part of what you should be doing. You should be doing things to skill people up, not all of a sudden being like, we're going to try to change back to the way we were 35 years ago, 40 years ago, or, saying that we're going to immediately, run into this and say, like, we're going to go straight to, like, neither of those work. And so I think the extremity of it matters. So I think like, it's like, I get what people are saying and what they're trying to say the theories are. It doesn't like, there's a reason why every single economist effectively like, or not every single, that's hyperbole. Why so many economists said this was a bad idea. It's not that the tariffs are inherently a terrible idea on paper. It's how they're executed at a blanket approach with a hatchet and not a scalpel, turning it into a pissing contest, having an unhinged man basically say like companies are begging, or maybe I think there's method to his madness, so unhinged is probably the wrong word, but like having Trump basically being like companies or countries are kissing my ass to do deals with me. Like, when was the last time you did a business deal with someone where you had them raked over the coals and said, yeah, they're talking badly about me, I want to do more deals with them? So I think there are better ways to do it, and I don't think it's the right way. But that's, again, I'm not the economic expert. I'm just saying what I've read, what I've heard, and I think personally, America will be better off. We do tech really well. We do innovation really well. We stay in front of the curve really well. Why would we not ease people into these jobs, ease people into this world over a period of time, instead of saying like, we're trying to bring back I just don't think manufacturing in that way is going to be something we can bring back to the States in a meaningful way, unless you're willing to pay, like, again, the example that was in the war room this morning, I won't say who did it because I don't know if they want to. Do you want to pay $3,000 for an iPhone while everyone else pays $300 for an iPhone? Because that's the direction we head if we want to bring everything back home. And that's the problem, is like, you're going to pay, 3, 4, 5x because we pay a living wage in America. We have certain labor laws. And I think that is good. But are we going to pay more for things on the whole from an economic perspective? And then becoming self-sustainable is just not a real thing. You need the world. It's a connected economy. So anyway, I'll get off my rant on that, but it's just, I think that's what we're running into. There's going to have to be some capitulation, and there's going to have to be some sort of negotiation that gets brought in. So I don't know. I'll end my rant. I know Joey has thoughts on this. Joey, go ahead and get in here, GM.
Yeah, guys. So on the small business topic, I was once a small business owner, and to Cap's point, like, there was a lot of, as a small business owner, if a restaurant owner frequented my business, I was always going to that restaurant. If a gym owner frequented my business, I made sure I went to that gym. Like, it's just kind of like common courtesy. And if you're not doing that, then as a small business owner, you should not be mad when people don't come to your business. And I still think it's kind of crazy in this country. We literally have a day where it's like Small Business Day, where we encourage people to go support small businesses. Like, I don't think people because we're so like desensitized to the fact that like every corner has a McDonald's, or every corner has like a Fridays. Like, we don't realize how many small businesses really exist still in our country, and that like they are this is people's like livelihood. And it's crazy that we have to dedicate a day where it's like, go support small businesses today. And the struggle, I guess, as a small business owner is like, we don't have the margins that big businesses have, right? Like, and that's why most people end up selling, or if you open up a small business, you a lot of times look to open a franchise because economies of scale are a real thing, right? So if I go open up my own smoothie store versus opening up a Smoothie King, like, my cost of food is going to be significantly different because I am one person. My buying power is not the same as somebody who's buying for 1,000 locations. So our margins are often a lot smaller, and it's a lot more difficult for us to make money, and which then sometimes makes the prices a little bit higher. So it's tough being a small business in America when you're competing with so many huge like restaurant groups that have such strong buying power and can drive their cost of goods, especially when it comes to the food industry, down so much. And then you made a comment just now, Steve, about
real quick on that part, the struggle with that I have sometimes, though, where I think and I'm not saying this is the case, like, because I shop local, I look local businesses, is that if a small business starts off as a small local restaurant and then they open a second location and then they open a third location, they become a national chain. Like, it did start as a small business, it just became a large corporation. And I think like that's there are different conversations to that. I also think it's like, you got to be fair to people. Like, some people just like Applebee's, not my jam, but some people do. I prefer the local Italian joint that's up the street from me. And I think it's okay to say, like, if somebody is living paycheck to paycheck and they want to take their family out to Applebee's because it's a nice night out where their kids get to have a dessert and they're able to afford it versus a local business, which might be a little more expensive. Like, I'm not going to knock the person who is working that manufacturing job, who is working that job where they're just trying to get by on multiple salaries, and they say, I need to go to this business, or I get to treat my kids to McDonald's once a week. I know McDonald's isn't good for you. I'm not a fan of McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's. I don't know the last time I think I've had McDonald's fries at some point in the past few years, but like, I'm not like a McDonald's guy. I don't think I've had like a Big Mac or anything in a while. So I think like it's so individualized that like, it's easy to say like, go eat and shop local. For a lot of people, it's definitely not the case. Right. And so I think like we need to like be empathetic to like, some people like it, some people can't afford it, some people that's their treat to their family. And there's a lot of different plights that exist within America, and a lot of those chains also started as local businesses. So it's like, it's like when people say, like I remember people getting mad when like Progressive took over Jacobs Field and became Progressive Field, which also is hilarious because field named after a billionaire, people are like, how could you change that name, versus like a local business which employs, tens of thousands of local people, and people get like mad at them. It's like, it is a business that employs tens of thousands of local people. So like, like you can rage against the machine on that, but if they shut down and you had 15,000 people out of work in Cleveland, Ohio, is that a good thing? And so I think that there's like a lot of nuance to the discussion that I struggle with when we go this direction. So I think it's like far more nuanced than we give it credit for. And sometimes we just sort of like stop at these, very sort of reductive first principle things where it's like, well, like shop local. Of course you want to support local. That's what we did back in the day. Well, we've grown as a world. And so there's a bunch of different ways to approach this. But Joey, go ahead and continue on your second point.
Oh no, I agree with you. I am not here like trying to throw people under the bus because they don't shop local. It was more so just as a former small business owner explaining like the struggles of competing with economies of scale when you're, again, when your food costs are maybe 35-40%, and a big national chain's food cost is maybe 20%, right? Like that, or 25%, like that 10-15% difference. Again, that's 10 to 15 cents on every dollar. And I was just explaining. I don't listen. I understand people can't always afford to go to their local Italian restaurant versus an Olive Garden. I get it 100%. But the comment you made on like the paying a living wage. So I've seen this talked about before where, the US is always out to, we're very like charitable country, right? Like we're always out trying to help other countries, whether it's, fresh water, new schools. Like we're always doing all these things, which is great, which is what we should be doing, right? To help second and third world countries. And I am not an international manufacturing expert, but I've seen this talked about, which is the reason why so much manufacturing is done in places like Bangladesh and, China, is they don't have labor laws. And the labor costs are so significantly lower that it allows these huge companies to put more money into their bottom line, which then, of course, trickle down effect. They can hire more employees and blah, 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 right? But for the argument I've seen is, well, if we force them to pay more, like if we force their costs higher, so that way they come in line with our cost, would it then force them to pay their people more money versus like how, you know what I'm saying? Like if we have to pay $8 or $10 an hour and they're paying $1 an hour, like would there be an effect on what they pay their people if they can no longer import it for so cheap? Does that make sense? Am I like...
Yeah, I don't want to dive down like the economics road on like that particular part, because I think it's like, again, I think it's more complex, and I would prefer to have that level of discussion. Like I said, like I have tangential economic knowledge. I am a nerd who watched economic videos prior to even being in Web3 because I was considering being a financial advisor and I wanted to understand full levels of economics. So I've taken some basic sort of courses there. I have a very decorated economics, economist as a co-author. I have 2 Nobel Prize economists who endorsed my book. I prefer to like, if we want to go down this discussion route, I would rather have those people involved in the discussion than go down the route of, having, sort of high level discussions with people who are maybe hobbyists comparatively versus like, and I'm not like trying to knock anybody in particular, like you, me, anybody else. It's just like,
I am not like, I have a very basic knowledge. So you are not knocking me at all. But
right.
Joe is here, and Joe knows all.
I'll let Joe get in here with a thought, and then we'll move on from the economic talk. But I think that's my take is like when people ask me my opinion on this thing, my opinion was like, look, I generally have these thoughts, but I'm trusting the people who do this for a living and study it. Not always right, but that's kind of why I talk about it. And again, it's not meant to be pro or con tariffs. And to be honest, like I said, I don't want to go super deep on it, but I'll let Joe get his thought, and then I want to talk a little Bitcoin, a little ApeCoin DAO, and a couple other things. But Joe, get in here.
Yeah, I actually don't know all, which is how come I don't come up on stage every day and have a strong opinion on things. If you raise first of all, it's not because, I mean, yes, there are exploitations that happen, although WTO and a whole bunch of US based organizations and global organizations have worked really hard to try to not have those things. But just like anywhere, here included, you're going to have people who exploit loopholes and laws and people. So, you may have an entire, what was that building, 9 stories or whatever that collapsed in Bangladesh with all the sewing factories in there. And I think like there was one that had an affiliation with Gap or like J. Crew brand, and everything went nuts. And, then we all stopped talking about that. But like, it's not, are there exploitative companies? Of course. Are there factories that exploit workers? Of course. But it's not that Nike's or Apple or whatever is exploiting the local workforce when they're paying them the wage that they're paying. That's the cost of living. If people couldn't afford that, they wouldn't work there. And then Nike or whoever would have to raise the wages, right? So if the cost of living in the Philippines is $2 a day, you're going to figure out what you need to pay hourly to get those workers to come work at your factory. The cost of living in New York City is more. So if you built a factory in Brooklyn, you're going to pay a ridiculous amount of salary. It's not because those workers are greedy. It's because nobody wants to live in Bangladesh and fly to work every day to make widgets, right? So it's not shop local, right? Because like you can shop local, you can buy all your produce local, but where's the potash come from for the fertilizer? Are we suddenly going to go develop potash? Because we don't have it. So where's that come from? Oh, that comes from Canada, right? Where's the farmer offset some of his stock? Well, he's selling his corn to Mexico. Well, they're not going to buy it no more because they're going to go buy it from somebody else. So now he's not making that money. Where's the cardboard box come from that he puts all of his stuff into, or the part for his John Deere tractor, or the repair piece for whatever, right? All these things have to go from somewhere, and if suddenly he can't get those parts because they have to go and spend 3 years building a factory and moving all the parts in, and then pay the local fees on what those workers' cost of living is, well, good luck with your $8 head of lettuce, So I just like, what happens to the local business owner of the taco stand who can only buy every single ingredient from the guy down the street, while the mega brand can still shop local but buy all their tomatoes from the cheapest vendor? Like there's inefficiencies in markets then, and then what you end up having is no markets. So like this isn't about trying to get manufacturing jobs back, because manufacturing jobs left between 25 and 40 years ago. Go find me somebody who wants their manufacturing job back who's in their 60s and 80s, right? This is just a negotiation tactic. And, this will be like this for a while. We'll go into a recession because that's what they've wanted. And sometime next year, we'll start having gains again in the market. And people will be like, oh, see, that was interesting. I'm done talking.
that's actually like, and like you, I think you said more eloquently what I'm trying to say, which is it's a connected world and it's a connected economy. And I hear this from my friends who are like architects about the wood that's coming from Canada and the older trees, which you just can't make in America or cut down because they're protected, which is, I think, good. But like certain trees in Canada that you want to get, and then you raise costs on them, and suddenly they have to make worse, they either have to cut costs locally here, they have to pay more here for worse products, they have to build lower quality products. And so I think like it's such a complicated thing of interconnected worlds. And that's why tariffs exist, but it's because somebody does something better than other people, the same way we do things better than other people when we get outsourced. So I think that's an eloquent way of saying it, and I appreciate the perspective there.
Can I just say really quick what people seem to not understand? We invented the dollar. We can invent dollars every day. Okay? We're the only fucking people. I mean, if somebody wants to get, really accurate with me, North Korea does print $100 bills, but they're the only country we kind of let counterfeit our money. That's the way we give them aid. We invented the dollar. We invent money every day. We have convinced the world to accept things we invented and then send us actual useful shit with it. Like, think about that. Okay? We give them a piece of linen, cotton, paper, and we say, this is worth that. Give us all your stuff. And they go, okay. And they give us their stuff.
Yeah. No, I think it's well said. And I think it's like and that's where it's like, that's where I try to like get to the point of like, when I say like, one, interconnected world, and two, not trying to like I would say like, I mean, if I stop being like overly humble, I'd probably have a better economic understanding than like the average human being, just like I do in some other things. But I also know that there is a much deeper layers. There are much deeper layers of things to go down the rabbit hole on. So no, I appreciate that, Joe, and appreciate the perspective. And I think it's a good discussion. And I appreciate, like I said, Joe comes up when he has something to say and a thought on that. And so very much do appreciate that.
That thing that what Joe just said about like we invented this money and we tell people that, like, it was so it didn't sound profound, but I feel like it was so profound. Like, it made so much sense when he was just like, yeah, we invented this thing called a dollar and we tell people, give us this because this is what it's worth. Like, I've never heard somebody put it that way, and it was very profound. And little Joseph wants to say hi. Go ahead, buddy.
Hi.
Oh, hey, little Joseph. No, I think it's a good, look, things have value because we assign them. It's why Bitcoin exists and why Bitcoin is value, because we decided it as value. It's why, it's why the same Rolex, which has, I remember when I started looking into watches, and my Hamilton watch, which costs less than an Apple Watch, was better or similar quality to a Rolex, because it's just the same, the way it's manufactured, but a Rolex has value. We assign and derive value, and money is the ultimate core thing. It's not backed by a gold standard anymore. So, it's a whole different ballgame. It's why you hear, things compared to, NFTs compared to Beanie Babies, and crypto compared to tulips sometimes, because we do, and shells, because we decide certain value on certain things that trade and are worth something. So, anyway, like, good discussion this morning. Cap, I'm going to give you one thing that's going to make you feel horrible about yourself and myself as well. And then I think we get into market update, more, Bitcoin, maybe a little DAO talk. I don't know why Zier had to do this to us. I need to respond and be like, why'd you do this to me? ETH is now down 60% from January 2025. Assuming ETH was still at $3,300, crypto posts will be 19 ETH. Bored Ape Yacht will be 6.3 ETH. Pudgy Bangs will be 4 ETH. Doodle 1.2. Azuki 1.1. Mutant Ape Yacht Club 1. If you think it will cover, and then he kind of said, if you think it will cover from the January 2025 levels, it's a mega discount for NFT season right now. It was trying to be positive. It didn't make me feel good though, because I don't know that I have that confidence in ETH anymore. I have been fighting the dying battle of ETH for quite some time. One of my like theses was that Trump's kids are buying it and saying it's a great time to buy ETH. Trump's kids just dumped it with World Liberty Financial. So I don't know. That made me feel bad. But do you want to? Is this a good way to jump into the daily market update and see all the red numbers?
Yeah, may as well pull the Band-Aid off.
Let's do it.
It's market update time. Let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean. Got your back. Grab your coffee. Let's break it down. Daily update right now.
It's time for the daily market update powered by Awaken, the best way to do your crypto taxes. We are a week out, less than a week out, ladies and gentlemen, from tax day. So with integrations across top exchanges and blockchains, plus AI-powered transactional labeling, Awaken makes tax season easy. From NFTs to DeFi to meme coins, Awaken has you covered. Get $50 off with code COFFEE at awaken.tax. That's $50 off when you use code COFFEE at awaken.tax. Again, we're less than a week out. Even if you have done your taxes, again, I'm just putting it out there. I regularly track my capital gains. No surprise in the red this year, although that was an intentional start to the year for me to kind of give myself a setup, thinking we were going to do a bull market. Silly me, but it's a good way to track your ongoing cap gains to make sure you're paying attention to that. Your ongoing ordinary income to make sure you're paying attention to that, and they do it better than anybody else, as we are told by Don't Believe Us. People who bought the product, like Tebow and Riggs, are saying it's the best. So definitely check out Awaken Cap.
Yeah, brace yourselves. It is not the greatest of market updates, but nevertheless, here we are. Bitcoin down 3.36%, 3.63% of the day to 76,951. ETH down 6.79%, below 1,500 to 1,464. XRP down 7.88% to 179. BNB down 1.45% to 554. Solana down 4.81% to 104.69. Tron down to 22 cents, down 3% on the day. Doge down to 14 cents, down 5% on the day. And Cardano down 6% on the day to 56 cents. I got to check while we're here. We got to check Fartcoin, because that is the one that seemingly has been bucking the trend, but it also is down 10% on the day to 53 cents. It usually leads the volatility in both directions. So be looking for that Fartcoin bounce. Looking over at the NFT page, depressing after Steve shared those ETH numbers, but here we are, 13.98 floor for Bored Apes, down or flat on the day, up 0.7%. Pudgy's down 0.68% to 8.92. Doodles at 2.69, that's up 1.69% of the day. Mutants 2.32. I mean, ETH NFTs are pretty much flat across the board. A percent or two, or even less in either direction. Blady's at 3.07. Lil Pudgy's at 1.06. The Steady Teddies on Barachain at 155.9, still up over a 10x from their mint price. Lunatics looks like a new Ordinals collection, maybe. Not familiar, but did over 1 Bitcoin in volume in the last day. Izuki 2.44, again flat. And Kaido Genesis 1.88. Got a 5% pump on Steve's post. 18 of those Genesis NFT sales in the last 24 hours. That's our daily market update, brought to you by Awaken Tax. Head to awaken.tax. Use code COFFEE for $50 off. Get your taxes done. It's also free Solana transactions over there on Awaken, Steve.
Yep. I love. Again, I would highly recommend getting some sort of tax software. Why not this one? You get $50 off. Awaken is, again, as people will tell you who are in the business, the best you're going to find right now. I am currently educating my accountant on it, and so very much recommend getting some sort of tax software, if not now, or even if you've done your taxes moving forward. You don't, I keep telling people this, you don't want to be on the wrong end of this when the government catches up and they start using crypto tax software, and they start tracking down wallets, and they start finding you. And it's like, oh, you owe a ton of money on back taxes. You want to make sure you're doing it. And by the way, if you lost money, good news, you get money off your taxes. So not good news for the market, though. So I'm going to roll us straight into the more you know, because it's sort of related to that ETH discussion. So I'm going to hit that one, and then we'll kind of keep the conversation going.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
It's time for a sad more you know, brought to you by ENS. Not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. Ethereum is back around that 1450 level. Last time we saw that level, June 2022. We basically erased 3 years. That was peak bear market when inflation was ripping, the Fed was tightening, and the entire crypto market was in free fall. ETH dropped as low as $1,067 back then. But what happened next? It slowly clawed back, rallying above 2,000 by mid 2023. I would give my left pinky for above 2,000 ETH right now, I swear. Now here we are again on April 6th, 2025, or April 9th, 2025. ETH once again dipped below 1,500 as Bitcoin slid under 80K. Liquidations hit hard, sentiment turned cold, and yet, see it not as a red flag, but maybe a repeat opportunity, potentially, because historically this range has been a zone of accumulation, not capitulation. With Ethereum still powering L2s, staking growing, and use cases expanding, it could be a reset for the next leg, or it could be a falling knife on the way down. A test of conviction or a falling knife. I guess we're going to find out about that. As always, don't trade on hopium, but maybe don't sleep on history either. The choice is yours. That's why we say not financial advice, but I don't know where we head from here. But that's where we're going with ETH. ENS does more than you know. Brought to you by Brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than you know. Not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, and unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to learn more and secure your ENS domain. So I don't know. I'm not a buyer of ETH here. I'm just not a buyer of ETH in general. I got NFTs denominated in ETH. That'll be my levered bet there as I kind of wait that out. I'll continue to DCA Bitcoin. I'm not buying Sol, but I don't know, Cap. I go back and forth because are we at a point where it's just like, hey, man, buy the dip? We were upset we didn't buy the dip last time. The dip keeps dipping. Or are you holding tight?
That's probably what we should be doing, but I can't bring myself to it. My buying ETH is convincing myself not to capitulate in with the entire bag at this point. So I don't know who originally said it, but if you're not selling, you're effectively buying, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not comfy in my ETH bags, but no, I'm not adding, and I'm certainly not selling here. At this point, I'll go down with the ship if it goes to zero.
Yeah, Dort in the war room, by the way. When Joey was on earlier, Little Joseph wants to say hi, and then he put Little Joseph. Tariffs distort market efficiency by artificially inflating import prices, leading to misallocation of resources, reduced consumer surplus, and potentially retaliatory measures that exacerbate the global economic efficiencies. I feel like an asshole because that sounds like something I would say with those words, and now I'm like, this is probably like ChatGPT, and it sounds like something I would say. My daughter actually was recently saying to my son was like kind of trolling her a little bit, and she's like, I feel like he's not present. I feel like he's not fully present during this conversation. I'm like, that sounds like something I would say. So here we go. But yeah, I'm with you. I probably should be buying. I don't really have the ability to buy. I'm not stable enough that I can. I gotta pick my spots. Maybe I'll do some little ones here and there, but I don't know. I feel like right now, until we have some sort of recovery rally, which I don't know where that comes from. I know Watcher Guru saying President Trump says pass the tax cut bill now, our country will boom. I don't think so. I think we would get a nice little dead cat bounce off something like that. But I think we're just in for a lot of pain, and I don't think anybody cares. And as Joe said, I think we're trying to drive towards that. So it is what it is. One thing that is booming.
I've accepted that pain is inevitable at this point. I think that I don't know exactly how this plays out, but I think short-term pain it's just, I am expecting much more pain, and I've just come to accept that. Part of it has been this, last 4+ years in crypto to essentially numb myself of volatility. But yeah, I'm expecting things to get much more painful before it turns. And to your point, I don't know what the catalyst would be. I just think this has to just play itself out, and unfortunately, I don't think it's like a middle ground outcome. It's like one of the two. And if it's really bad, it could be a long time before we recover back to all-time highs, or things work and, we springboard back there. But yeah, I expect things to get pretty painful over the next month or two.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we don't know, could be solved in the next 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years. I don't know, but I'm just going to plan accordingly, control what I can control, and try to live in the moment.
What are you buying? So I'm not buying ETH. I'll keep DCAing Bitcoin. What are you buying? Are you looking at things like Bitcoin and other smaller, lower cost opportunities that could do 100x. That's not a major. That's not maybe getting caught up in geopolitical trade wars. Like, what are you looking at?
Stocks. I know that's kind of boring, but I'm looking at sort of the S&P 500 because if I do, like, here's the thing, like, I like crypto. I'll DCA Bitcoin. I'm buying equities. Jonah had a good tweet about like equities going on chain and competing with our shitty, our crypto assets, which is actually kind of like an interesting take. I look at it this way. If we are done for as a country, then I have bigger problems than the S&P 500. If we're not done for as a country, the S&P 500 continues to go on sale. So my general feeling is I'm DCAing into Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and I will, do it in light ways. I might try to buy some things I want, like Pop Wonder editions. I love Pop Wonder, are on hella sale. I've always said, like, if I can get artist commissioned artist to commission a work for my house, it would probably be Pop Wonder, maybe Vinny Hager. So I think those like Pop Wonder editions, which are pretty cool, are on sale as far as NFT art goes. I might try to buy that Hafka today that he's dropping on Bitcoin. So like as far as NFTs and those things go.
Tell us about that. I saw you post. I have no idea what it is.
Hafka's like an artist that's been in the MoMA. He's like a very strong traditional artist. Danny Yang and the on-chain monkey community recently explained Bitcoin and art on-chain to him, and he like immediately grokked it and was like, "Oh my god, this makes sense to me. The permanence of my art and everything." So he's coming out with like a small collection this afternoon. It's probably going to sell out before I could even get my bid in based on the timing of it, but gonna probably give it a try and see if I can mint it because I think it's pretty cool. And I think it would be cool to own a trad artist that's been featured in the MoMA, who's actually understands the space, is here for the right reasons, understands the permanence. He's just a gnarly dude. I love talking to him. Like I've talked to him a couple times and I'm a fan. So I'm probably gonna try to mint that. It's like inexpensive on Bitcoin and I don't want to sell it. I just want to own it. So that's kind of cool. So I'm gonna buy like digital assets I like if I have the liquidity. I'm going to farm things on Abstract, which actually like I'm going to go ahead and share and let's talk a little Bitcoin. I pinned my ref link up top. If people are feeling squirrely, it is quite literally free money. Like, and when I say it's free money, I mean,
Did you buy a miner? You just do the free one.
I bought a miner. I bought the Raspberry miner. And
I'm mad because I had it in my wallet. And this is why like I asked the question, because I looked at it yesterday. It was like 80 big to buy it was about $100. I'm like, why am I spending $100 on something right now? What am I doing? Because and actually it was the ETH price. Like, well, this would be like an expensive ETH mint. I didn't do it. Now to get that same 80 big, it's $200. It's almost 0.14 ETH. So yeah, all I did was the free miner. I should have bought the Raspberry Pi last night, but I did not.
Yeah. So if you look at if you're watching on the stream, if you're not watching on the stream, again, I put a ref link up top. You can click through. You literally go up. Sign in with your Abstract wallet or any other wallet. I use my Abstract because I'm trying to farm Abstract in the, I mean,
like, I know you paid for this. Sorry, I'll get right back to you. I didn't realize this. Like, all I did was the free setup. No, it wasn't free. Excuse me. It was 0.0005 ETH. It was $7. I've already mined 5 big, which is about $15. I mean, $15 a day in this economy. That's like, I can buy, free sandwich at my local farmer market a day. Like I'm fed daily off of Bitcoin, Steve.
Yeah, you can go get a couple McDonald's meals from a big conglomerate. No, I'm just kidding. So my Raspberry Pi miner that I got
it's going to change. It won't hold at this, but right now it's $15 a day with the current, currently it's probably going to be 15 cents a day at some point, but right now it's $15 a day on a $7 investment. Stop what you're doing. Go click Steve's ref link and get your free miner.
The Epic in the chat when you said $15 said that'll get you 3 eggs right now. No, if you look like you basically
in the war room says we used to buy we come to the point in society where we buy weed from a store and eggs from on the black market.
Yeah, no, it's wacky times here in the U.S. But yeah, if you click on the ref link up top again, it is a ref link, but it's literally you pay like $7. And by tonight, that $7 should be covered, and then you're free rolling, and it's just printing you money. So you go on these like this game that they created. It's a nice little solid little Ponzi they got going. You click on this, you sign up. You click on, you sign up for this room, which costs you like $7. You click on this grid that's on the screen. That if you're looking at it, a grid. and you put down your potato miner, which is free with purchase of that. And, I think when I started yesterday, it was like 50 to 60 a day, and now it's down to 20 a day. So it's definitely dropping as more people do it, because as more people sign up, it's, less so. But you click on that ref link, set it up on your grid, pay your $7. Again, not financial advice. Who knows if it goes down drastically, but like you literally should be paid off by tonight. So what I did was my Raspberry miner is about 50% paid off after a few hours yesterday. I took the money in big, I claimed it, I stabled it. So I'm like halfway there. And I assume at the very least over the next however long I'm running this thing, I'm not putting any more money in. It's going to pay off. So got my, go ahead.
20 a day? You're getting 20 a day?
Right now I am currently getting 20.735 Bitcoin a day. Now, I did not pay the thousands of dollars to upgrade my room and my power supply. I did not pay money for extra miners. I had heard you could remove your potato miner and add in another Raspberry miner, which I would have done, except when I went to remove it, it's like, you can't add this back in. It'll go away. So I'm like, am I sure I could add back in that Raspberry miner? I'm not sure. But, just the potato should be able to get you, again, paid off by like literally the end of the day. So talk about free money. And if you do it with your Abstract Global Wallet, and Lit Dog says, where is this? Lit Dog, if you go to the space on X, so go to my profile or Cap's profile on X, click on the space, and up top I have a pinned ref link, and you can just click on that and go there for Bitcoin. Make sure you use proper channels, because you want to make sure you're doing the same thing. And I think, again, for a lot of people, like it's not only is it free money. So yeah, no problem, Lit Dog. Yeah, just go to the space, click on the thing, click on that link up top. You go in there, you sign up for 0.005, which is $7. You click on the grid, you add your potato miner, and the reason I'm shilling it is like, if you're mining Abstract anyway, or if you're farming Abstract in that you're trying to like get all those points, it's on Abstract chain. So I use my Abstract Global Wallet, and again, like as B Epic says, the big keeps going down per day, so it likely pay you off in a day or so. Again, I'm halfway to paying for like this other miner. Now, I'm not saying if I were doing it now, I'm not sure I would upgrade the Raspberry miner. I might just say, give me some free money with the big. I'll get like 10, 15 bucks a day and make that work. With the Raspberry miner, it's getting me a little more, but I bought it yesterday when it was significantly cheaper to do so.
About 200 right now.
200 bucks right now. I think I got it at like 130, so I was a little later than you. But yeah, ref links there if people want to use it. It's a way to mine Abstract. So I'm mining my way through and continuing to do those things, which kind of brings me to my question, Cap, to you, which is, in this market, you talked about what are you buying? What are you doing in this market? Like, what are, besides like Coffee with Captain and continuing to build and grow upon yourself and ApeCon and stuff, from like those listening, like farming Abstract, ApeCoin, like what are you doing in this market that excites you at the moment that people can get excited about?
And a lot of it is actually adjacent to this market. Is if you're talking like farming, like I am using Abstract, using ApeCoin. There's a few things that have caught my attention. I'm playing around a little bit with, like just daily hitters like this. I actually have not. The Zed Champions beta is live. I've not done a beta. I don't like doing things and then losing it. Like it's going to reset. So I just hearing some good feedback on the gameplay. I should get in and do a couple races or something. I don't like spending time on something that then is going to basically act like it didn't happen when they turn the game actually on. But when that does go live, I'm actually looking forward to playing around a little bit with Zed. This Bitcoin thing. There's different but similar the mining going on. We still need to get Matt on here from over on ApeChain. Different stuff like this where it's not high cost. I'm not expecting $100 to turn into 10 grand or anything crazy. Just little things that, especially for these ones that might have a TGE coming up, if there's a daily active task that I can do that might lead to a future airdrop, that's kind of where I am today in crypto. What I'm doing is, what are the low cost opportunities, not low cost, but low time, low participation that potentially could result in an airdrop. I say all that, keeping in mind that I'm not expecting any TGEs for a while. I think many teams will delay or defer any TGs until we get out of whatever the current state of the market is. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I mean, but the real answer is I'm doubling down in the best ball streets Major League was actually was not a profitable day yesterday in MLB Battle Royale, but it was still like I turned like 200 into 150. And in the DFS streets, anytime you're bringing money back, that is a dub in my book. So doing that, we've got NFL draft coming up month end, so I'm staying connected on some of that stuff. And while it's not directly crypto, it's probably what I should be doing actually, is spending more time on Myriad, farming that airdrop, because that's stuff that is, again, it's connected to, it's when I say it's adjacent, I have the knowledge base, I have I'm putting the time in to understand like right now it's football and baseball and a little bit of masters. I should be maximizing that research time and doing other things that aren't big bets, but yet I can participate and get rewarded for my knowledge.
Yeah, I am. B Epic says Myriad's up your alley, Steve. I actually do Myriad every day. So every day I check in.
What do you do? What's your daily? You just do follow the prompts they put in your face, or it's like I have the extension, but I don't have a daily habit there. There's nothing I'm doing on a regular basis on Myriad. I'm not even doing like the daily, streak, which I should be doing. What do you?
I just do. So what I do for Myriad is I check in, I do the daily streak, like you said, like feels like maybe there's an airdrop coming there. Not positive, but like, what's that?
I guess it doesn't have to be, but I would be shocked if there's not a TG. Someone else, go ahead, but I'm going to try to think through my brain. Someone else basically straight out said everything, but there's a token coming, but I can't remember. It's not clicking who it was, but I'll come back to that.
Yeah, so Myriad, basically, I show up, I do the daily claim. I don't do any of the tasks. I don't do any of the extra things with the retweets and the claims and things like that. And then my strategy tends to be, I have a ton of capital in play right now. Not capital, it's the points. I haven't bet the USDC. You just made a Yelp. What was that?
I've got some money in my abstract account that wasn't there before.
Interesting.
No, I know what it is. It just shows up differently. It's in my abstract wallet. The USD portion was separated on Myriad, and that's thanks to all you tipors out there. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, no, it's but no, what I do is I show up and I do the daily claim. So there's no reason not to. You basically will show up on Myriad on the daily basis. You hit the claim button. And then you basically claim daily points. I have only done points. I have not bet USDC. I've considered it because it feels like Bitwise file for approval of a Pudgy Penguin ETF in April feels like good money to potentially put some money in there. But yeah, there are certain things that you could bet on USDC. I just do the points. My strategy tends to be, Like, I have a ton of money in play, so it'll look like I'm pretty points poor here on Myriad markets because I have like 100K points right now, but I have like several 100K in play. My move tends to be, I go to ending because I'm very impatient. And then I go down to something like, will Elon Musk leave Doge by April 17th? If I think no, I'll do an overweight bet on it. Dog with hat, raise, 700K to be on the sphere. They have not yet. I predicted no on that one a while back. So I have, a week, but I tend to go on the stuff that's ending sooner rather than later. I tend to do the monthly ones. And then at the end of the month, actually, let me see if I still have my screenshot here. I'm going to share a screenshot here. What I did at the end of the month last month. So I'll bet these. I'll share a different tab here.
I just made my first bet.
What'd you bet on?
That I bet 1,000 points that I did your thing. I went to ending soon, and my bet was 1,000 points that there will not be a Ukraine-Russia ceasefire by April 15th.
Yeah, so there you go. And so, like, you can bet 1,000. I have a ton in here, but this is an example of what I did. So at the end of last month, there was a bunch of things that closed at the end of Q1, and I just claimed all the winning points. And a lot of them were these oversized bets to win, like, off the grid hitting mainnet. Didn't think it was very likely. Bet 12K. Current value was 14K. Claimed it. Made 2,000 points there. It's not big wins, but it's like it's something that's fun that feels like I'm gamifying. But this was me literally on April 1st. Because I was claiming all my Q1 bets. Will Dave Portnoy be charged or arrested? 25K points. I didn't think Dave Portnoy was going to be charged or arrested, so that seemed like an easy bet. So I basically bet a lot of these things on points. I do the shorter term ones, and then I claim them as I go. So that tends to be the way I go. I don't cash out like Billy Betts does properly and saying like when I've booked a win, I should free roll. Just not my style. And so, so that's kind of been my MO is that I don't sell the points, but I just bet on things that are going to happen at the end of the month, and I claim it every day. So, I do Myriad. Bitcoin came along. I'm not telling everybody to do this, but Lucas said on our show that holding abstract NFTs does have a disproportionate value on points. So I bought a couple of extra NFTs. I bought
Is that Raspberry Pi an NFT or no?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
Because I need more. I think that's where I'm falling behind in the points. I'm very pleased with the points I get on.
How many did you get last week?
Like 8,000. It's basically the same almost every week for me now. And because I'm not doing anything, I just show up, I do this stream a few days a week, and a little bit of regular stuff, but I'm not grinding. I'm definitely not farming it. And it was 8,500 last week. It was 8,600 the week before. It was 8,500 the week before. 5,600 the week before that, and 6,400. So the last 3 weeks have been 85, 8,600. And
so
I know that's not it's not huge, but it's not costing me anything. I'm getting rewarded for using the platform for doing things that I would be doing anyways.
Yeah. So I didn't do the captain badge because I didn't feel like, playing that game. It didn't really get into it. So my past few weeks have been 13,000, 11,000. I went down, then I went 17, 17, and 20. And what I did was I simply bought, some NFTs. So I have 2 GigaRoms, which I use because I actually play Gigaverse. I like Gigaverse. It's quick, it's relaxing, I enjoy it, it's fun, it's like rock paper scissors with some extra strategy level to it. So I have 2 GigaRoms. Again, those you can get for like less than 0.1 ETH, which is not very much right now ETH wise. I bought an on-chain hero, which I just hold, and I have a bearish, I think, NFT. And outside of that, like my NFTs, I'm trying to look at my NFTs in my wallet. My NFTs in my wallet, yeah, I have a bearish, a Ryu, an on-chain hero Genesis, I entered the abstract bracket madness, so that got me an NFT apparently, and then a couple of GigaRoms. That's it. But I bought a couple of things that I got in there. Obviously, my points pods from Sugartown's in there as well. But a couple of GigaRoms, bearish, Ryu, and an on-chain hero, and they just sit there. And each week, I get points for having them sit there. I play Gigaverse. Occasionally do a little roach racing, but I don't think I did a single roach race last week, and I had my highest XP week yet. So it's a combination of those things. So, that's kind of where I'm doing. I'm farming abstract. I'm playing around on chains that I enjoy, but I'm not and Mayhem says, I thought MYR was confirmed. Rug Radio NFT is supposed to be getting a sizable amount of the allocation, which I actually remember as well. So shout out to Mayhem and the Worm for getting us that as well. So I'm doing a little bit of that. Abstract DCA, survive in advance, buying stocks. Like that's sort of where I'm at. Like I'm not like doing a ton right now. I'm doing things I actually enjoy, and trying to, work towards, like hopefully, we have a turnaround at least of some sort, because, you do have all these TGEs that are potentially coming down. You have, things like Somnia. You have, which I'm going to start playing around with more and actually do a little more research on probably this week, end of this week. You have, I had a call with the founder and just have been a little bit busy. You have Mega ETH, which is going to come and have a TGA at some point. You have Abstract, which is going to have a TGA at some point. You have OpenSea, which is going to have a TGA at some point. It just sucks because this TGE is rough. And the season, I should say, is rough, right?
I don't think it's going to be a season. I think many of them will punt it till, at this point, it could be 2026 till we see some of these come to market with it.
Yeah. It's like 2026 could be a very fruitful year, but right now, and who knows, recessions last, I think on average 18 months or something. So that would mean that we may be even further out than 2026 for some of these ones, but we'll see. I don't know, but yeah, just doing a little bit of that. But yeah, for you, I think it's like, just click on Myriad and claim the points every day at the very least. And then placing the bets is easy. Just look for something that like you feel really strongly convicted about and place a big bet and call it a day with your points. So that's what I've been playing around with. A little bit there. I actually wanted to have and again, like tomorrow we got AI with Bunchu, so we'll have some time. Not sure if Friday we may have a guest. It may be into next week, and then I'm probably going to work on booking some guests for next week because bear markets are a good time for guests, I think. But want to let me okay, so I actually I just got alpha I cannot share in an email with a team member, so I'll share after the show some alpha, which I will not trade on or do anything with, but I'll share after the show.
Regarding that potential guess for Friday or a different one?
Regarding that potential guess for Friday, you could probably take a guess.
Was I wrong about no TGEs until 2026?
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say one thing or the other. I'm not going to tip it. It may or may not have to do with anything related to that, but
that would be wild.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything related to it, but we'll see. We're not gonna share any information. It's actually I don't think it's related to the guest you think it's related to, because I don't think anybody's aware of the guest that I was talking to for Friday. It's not the one you think.
Okay.
So I would say people trying to guess would be fruitless on that one. I want to get your take on something here. And I haven't looked at the specific data on this one, but I was looking at some ApeCoin data, and I want to get your take on something, because it says through like June 2nd, 2025, which is not actually happened yet. Like, we're in April. But I saw this thing and I want to share a little bit. It says some notable things that happened this voting cycle. This voting cycle, we saw a significant drop in voter participation. This is the ApeCoin DAO, by the way, with only 605 voters participating compared to 2,600 from last voting cycle. We saw nearly 1/4 of the amount of voters participating. We were still able to achieve 18 million ape in this cast in this last cycle. The NBA wallet once again did not vote. In fact, it appears that this initiative is being paused, according to Garga. Garga mentioned that as well. I want to talk about that. We're seeing a drop in voting in the ApeCoin DAO. Obviously, like, things aren't run the most smoothly over there. I am obviously a fan of Garga and his leadership and a lot of things. It's been, I think, bullish for the club since sort of coming back. I'm struggling with the idea that we're just going to, like, when I see a problem, like voting is down across the board, NBA delegations were not getting sort of, NBA delegations were not getting pushed. So I guess my problem I run into is, like, shouldn't we be solving the problem instead of saying, hey, let's shut this thing down? Or, like, one, how do you solve the voting problem? And I have some thoughts. And two, I actually think you don't need to shut down the NBA delegation. They have a lot of ape push towards them. Why not just keep that alive and try to find a way to get it to work? So I'm curious your take on either of those.
I think part of the challenge is because of the past. And I think, so I think all the moves that have been announced recently are all positive, all great steps in the right direction, as far as the team, the structure, all that. I just kind of like the markets at large. I think it could be more pain before things get better. I think it's not an easy fix. I think that probably some of this stuff now would have been more beneficial a while ago. And I sense that there's portions of the community that are not as participatory in the DAO now, and voting's down because they feel it's heading to, I think this is just speculating. I shouldn't guess what others are feeling, but I think that there's this sense that it's not really going to matter if they vote or not. Yeah, I mean, I could go back to, it's also, there's, like, I think some of the problems, some of the challenges are, were created or a result of individuals who are no longer around or there, and cleanup's hard. DAOs are very hard. I do think that, as I said, I think earlier this week or last week, that this executive director position leadership is important. I think it's key, and DAOs without a leader or leaders, someone that's every day eating, breathing, sleeping that organization, they're gonna struggle to gain real momentum. So I think they're there. I think it's compounded by everything that's happened specifically at the DAO, as well as the market. Like, when market's in the shitter, people are less likely to be active and care about things that maybe they would get more engaged and excited when things are ripping. I'm not saying that's all of it. I don't think that is the only reason, but the NBA thing, there was some, I think there was some tech challenges. I think that's why they didn't get the votes. It just, speaking for myself, it just never worked properly to the point where I never voted with my NBA. I gave up because I couldn't get it to work. And I wasn't going to connect another wallet. I'm supportive. I'll vote. I'll support the DAO, but I couldn't get the delegation thing to work. So I think there was some tech challenges that maybe it got resolved, but after I attempted a couple times, couldn't get it to work, I didn't go back. So I think that's maybe a one-off issue when you talk about the NBA delegation. I think we just, this has to play out. I think they've got to get through this new structure. This just went into effect like days ago, and there is, the announcement. They sent the emails. Hey, we're holding people accountable. I said it on here. Well, that's a good thing. I don't know as if a blanket approach to everyone who's ever had an AIP approved. I don't know if that was proper or if that was the best approach, because it probably made individuals feel a certain way. Like, screw this. I'm not going to take this when I didn't do anything wrong. I was, on the other end of waiting for, responses and accountability on their end. And I did everything I asked, and now they're coming back on me to ask me to do something. I think some of that stuff, while you do need to draw the line in the sand, you do need to hold people accountable. You need to eliminate the grift and the bad actors. Unfortunately, I think a lot of vocal leaders have also been, maybe alienated is too hard of a word, but I think they've been, maybe they're not as inspired and as willing to participate because of how they've been talked to or how they've been treated.
So you think like less of a tactical issue and more of a actual reputational issue and how they need to handle it moving forward, and more of a, like, there's more EQ than IQ to this, and it's not like a tactical thing that'll get people moving along. It's people are like, the worst thing you can feel a lot of times is apathy, right? Like, it's like the reason why we talk about it. We talk about the things that we talk about, whether it's Bored Ape Yacht Club or other, this show or other, passionate things. We get passionate is because we care one way or the other, right? Like when I got sort of passionate a little bit about Kaido the other day, I want the timeline to be a clean timeline that embraces like really cool products, not people farming and pretending to be interested and then like, going to the next thing and other people get burned and having less clean data. And I think with like, things like the ApeCoin DAO, it's like, I do feel like a lot of people, it's this great pot of money, but I think, to your point about things compounding, it's, again, respectfully, I'm not trying to knock anybody's like AIPs. Like they didn't do it, but it's like wrap BMWs and giant martinis. Like people are like, well, what does this do? And then other AIPs that people have put through that are trying to build things don't get passed. And
so yes, that I think there's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of historical, I don't even know what to call it, but there's a lot of this is where the EQ piece comes in. Is new leadership in place. Awesome. Seems like it's going the right direction. I do think it's important for those new leaders to be aware of that baggage that maybe some of their predecessors. The reality is that the community is this. It's the secret weapon for the Bored Ape Yacht Club, the Ape ecosystem. Like, it is arguably the most vibrant community in of the NFT class of 2021. Like, it is still very, very active, very loud, a lot of incredible individuals. And unfortunately, a lot of those individuals were made to feel a way, and it wasn't a good way and sometimes it was just feeling ignored, or, for a while we talked about, like, I know two separate things here, but, the backlog on some of the banana bill stuff, like, that doesn't just go away because leadership changes, right? I think there is I don't know what to do either. I don't know what I would suggest they do, but I think there's something to be said to, I don't know, say re-winning the community over, but I think I'll say this. I don't think the current state of the DAO is where it's at due to the community or anyone that has any individual AIP that has been submitted in the past. I don't think like the BMW getting approved or the the Guinness World Record gin and tonic. I don't, nothing individually, and even actually probably all of them combined, it's not why the DAO is where it's at. Did that stuff need to stop? And yes, it did. But I think that's one of the factors. But it's I think a lot of the other stuff that there's a lot of incredible builders in the ecosystem still building with the IP, and they've all but checked out of the DAO because of how they've been made to feel. And that's what people will forget what you say. They won't forget how you made them feel. And I think that's it needs to be hit head on and acknowledge that. And the tone has been like, hey, we're changing, we're fixing this, we're fixing all the things that you all broke. And that's just not what happened. I don't think. Maybe I'm way off here, but I don't think there's any of the AIP authors to blame for the current state of the DAO. Should some of them done a better job? Should some of them executed their AIPs better? Should some of them followed up better? Maybe. A lot of them did everything that was asked of them, and they're still being blamed that they didn't do things they were supposed to do. Like it's like relationships and feelings are real. It could be decentralized or a centralized organization. It doesn't change how people feel. And if they are made to feel a certain way, they're much less likely to continue to invest time and energy in said thing.
That's actually a really interesting way of putting it, where I hadn't thought about it till you said that. I mean, like, again, I'm actually going to share the Garga tweet because, again, we're obviously fans of Garga. We like everything that, he's been doing. But he said, this was when, they put the 6.5 million ape for NBA licenses to amplify their voice in the ApeCoin DAO. He says, an update here. We will be hitting pause on this initiative. Unfortunately, most aren't meeting quorum for the NBA delegation, and reducing quorum isn't an option because it would make it manipulatable. Hitting pause on this following next week's vote and exploring other ways to boost turnout and engagement in the future. I mean, I like that he's looking for other ways to increase, and boost turnout in the future. Like, I think that's the right answer. But I think to your point, like, new sheriff in town. And then I was trying to figure out why I agreed with like them having accountability on AIPs moving forward. In fact, I said as much. I replied to Garga's tweet that I really liked everything they were doing with the DAO in that way. But something didn't feel quite right about the initial approach of like how they were like, we're going to try to claw back. We're going to be like aggressively doing this. And I was trying to figure out what it is. And I think you kind of nailed it, where it's like, it's almost like this idea that like we have new leadership in place, so you morons aren't going to be able to do this anymore, which I know is not what they're saying. That's hyperbole. That's like over the top, but like no one's going to be able to do this anymore. And to your point, I think it was
use that like the extreme hyperbole. It's like maybe 1 to 5% of the people were moron grifters that were attempting to steal from the DAO and extract from the ecosystem. Most of the others weren't. Like most of the others were big advocates. They were ambassadors. They were big fans. They want to see the thing be successful and work. And I just don't think both groups of individuals should be treated the same or talked to the same.
Right. And I do think that the leadership has done a good job. I mean, like, I can speak for ourselves, like, Cam coming on the show to announce that, having that announced, being there as well. Having Garga come on the show. We are very fortunate that they did identify, like, we are ambassadors of the DAO. We believe in the ecosystem. We love this thing. So I want to give the credit to like the new sort of administration in that way. It's funny because I was thinking of like tactical ways to increase it, but you're probably right. I think a lot of people became apathetic in that they felt that this was they felt apathetic and they felt like, okay, well, like, I think you nailed it when you said like, when we got like the, hey, you didn't provide the updates here notice. And we're like, well, wait a minute, what updates are we supposed to be giving? And they're like, well, we decided this in February. And we're like, our AIP went up in February. Do you just want an update on the last like 10 days? Like, what was that? And it's like, yeah, no, but they said like required updates and came at us. And it's like, wait a minute, like perhaps not the best way to go after like people in that manner and say like, we're coming after you, we're cleaning up the streets. Instead, the understanding and accountability of how things need to change, I think would be well received. We've received that very well, though. Like, again, I want to say on a personal level, like we try to represent the community very well. On a personal level, we've been, we're very fortunate that, we had, Garga and Cam on the show and we're able to talk about that. We were able to hit some announcements. Like, that was really fun. And we very much appreciate that opportunity. But when you ask the reasoning, I think that was interesting. It's like, I would love to see, like Garga said in his tweet, ways that they would explore. Because I was thinking things like, how do you make it incentivized? How do you make it fun? how do you make it easy? Like James Clear has his Atomic Habit says, what would it look like? Or maybe it's not James Clear. I think it's James Clear or is it Tim Ferriss? I don't remember who it was who says, what would this look like if it were easy? I actually think that's Tim Ferriss. Because James Clear does say make it simple as one of his sort of things in Atomic Habits, like make it simple. But like with Tim Ferriss always say, what was this look like if it was easy? How do you make it easy to vote? How do you make it easy for NBA to vote? Like, right? Like, how do you make it so that you don't run into friction? Like, you're a tech savvy guy, but you run into the. Oh, I got a little bit of echo suddenly. You're a tech savvy guy. Here, I'll actually hand it back to you. I'm getting a weird echo from. Oh no, I think it's gone now. You're a tech savvy guy. You run into the issue of your delegation. That means somebody else probably does. Well, that means that there's going to be less votes in a very small quorum, and it's one vote per MBA or per person per wallet. So, like, how do you make that easy? How do you make it repeatable? Like, how do you make voting in there easy and repeatable? Because, I get the occasional email, but like, is it an email? Is it a push notification? Is it a app? Is it what do you do to build out? Like, if there was an app that gave me a push notification time to vote, it's going to take you 30 seconds. If there was an incentivized voting program, that would be different. So I think that there are certain ways they could actually tactically implement something. But yeah, this is very interesting to say, like, to your point, like, I think it's an amalgamation of things that cause the problem.
Coming to me in real time, to me, so we need a DAO hub. I know there's ApeCoin.com. It needs to be that, like, I think all DAOs should have a hub, have a home base where people are going to, like, it doesn't have to be a farm for token, but this stuff works. Like, create a daily active user trap. Give something for them, a reason, a simple, easy reason for them to keep coming back and doing this thing every day. And then once you've created the daily habit, to get them to vote one of those days every 2 weeks is easy. I think where it's challenging is you need to do this activity once every couple weeks. It's just really hard to create that habit. And I think this is where a home base can be very impactful. And I don't know as if Discord or Telegram or any of those are a proper home base, because it's very easy for anything to get lost in a distraction.
And have I know you said like you don't need to incentivize it. And I'm making this up because like I'm sure it's easier for me from the sidelines to say, but like they have a user incentives bucket. Why not give like, I don't know, like 5 ape per vote? I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Like it basically like, and I
don't know if it paid for the vote works. I think that could cause some issues, but yeah, you can incentivize. You can create some points mechanism. You can create something, and then once a month you give away a bored ape or a mutant, or if there's a big chase item, I guarantee you're going to get an quorum. If there's a carrot dangled that's more than just vote, because and I think that not only is it, oh, you got to do this activity once every couple weeks. Some of the AIPs just certain individuals aren't going to care about. It's just not like important to them one way or the other. And I need to go vote so that it's quorum. I just don't know if that's enough of an incentive for the current state of not just the ApeCoin DAO, but the current state of crypto, of DAOs in general. There needs to be a hook. There needs to be some incentive. It doesn't have to be direct payment or compensation for doing the thing, but to dangle a reward or something just because the goal isn't to get them to vote. The goal is to create the habit to where they're it's not, I want to do something that's going to incentivize a vote on April 17th. Rather, what can we do to help create a habit where every 2 weeks they're already there anyways, and that's the pop-up they see that day. Of course they're going to do it.
Yeah, you need to create a habit, and you need to create an emotional connection where people care, which I think are both two important things that you need to. Yeah, you need to create a habit. You need to make people care, is what I would say. And I think like how you pull those two things together, like, because you have this incredibly passionate community. It's almost like, to your point of like, I think about like your point about like being like, okay, well, like it's it's everything you did or whatever. It's like, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you don't want to take them for granted. Like, sometimes you need to realize, like, you may have been together for a long time, but like, I date my wife every day. And I know that that sounds like very corny, but like, she will attest when she gets flowers twice in a week because I'm just feeling like doing something, and me and my daughter go out and we grab her something, and it's like, my daughter, very observant, was like, maybe you should grab a White Claw. Mommy likes cherry. But like, it's like when we're out and I'm grabbing like her like a dessert and flowers just because on a random Wednesday, it helps show that like I'm thinking about you, I care. It's the thing behind that matters, right? And I think, I guess, from my perspective, I would say like there's something to be said about like NFT brands that are based on community and based on relationships and things like the DAO, that you need to sort of keep, quote unquote, dating your members. Like, you need to say like, hey, there's a reason to like this. There's a reason to be here. I know this is like kind of a weird analogy, but is it landing?
Yeah, no, it's landing. And is the phrase, it's what's like honey's better than a stick. What is that?
You catch more bees with honey than with vinegar, or flies with honey than vinegar, you mean?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. More flies with honey than vinegar, I think, is what you're looking for.
Yeah. I think that hits here. I don't think, I understand the why behind it. It's very important to hold these authors accountable. I think that's a very small percentage of AIP authors. And I think while I understand the intent and the goal, I think those AIP authors that this is directed towards, I'm purely guessing, but I think some of them are going to be like, screw you. Come.
I don't think Machi's giving back millions of dollars.
Yeah, he's going to say, fuck you guys, lawyer up and come get it if you think you can get it back. So I don't think it's going to get people just all of a sudden returning funds or doing what they want them to do. And then the 95% of the people that weren't those authors who actually had good intentions, they're like, why are you attacking me? I didn't do anything wrong. This isn't related to ApeCoin DAO. This is just life. And, if you're building a business and someone on your team did something wrong, there's two styles of leadership. One, you can berate that person in front of the room and tell everyone how horrible they are because the job isn't getting done as expected because it was this idiot's fault. Or you can praise those that are doing well in front of the room, give examples of this is who's doing it right. And then you pull the idiot aside in a closed door office and explain to them what I'm doing wrong. And you can't continue to do this. And if you do, here's going to be the consequences. That's always been my style, is you deal with the challenges and the counseling, the coaching in a private setting, and you praise publicly those who are doing things that you want them to do. That's my preference. That's my style. I know there's been others that rule with an iron fist and they berate people publicly and they've been, they've done a fine job building organizations doing that. In a decentralized world where these people aren't employees, some of the grant agreements, they do not have teeth in them, or those individuals did everything that they were required to. I don't envy the position. It's really hard because there is cleanup that needs involved, and this stuff does need to be dealt with. I just think how it's dealt with could lead to less participation, not more. And maybe that's part of the objective as well. Maybe they don't want as many people. I wouldn't think that's the case, but I really don't know.
Yeah, and I think I keep going back to like, I think you really kind of like unlock something this morning as far as like how you approach things. Like I was listening to Chris Williamson the other day about the, connection tends to be the point that, you can always come back to. Like, you want your podcast to do better, you need to connect better with your guests, connect better with your audience. Like, he talks about connection a lot, or his guest did. And I'm thinking about like kind of what you're saying about like this is like so I am not a religious person. I would consider myself spiritual, but not religious. I'm very like in touch with myself and the universe and the world, but I'm not like somebody who goes to like church or anything like that. My mom is very involved in her church. And the sort of lead priest at our church does this thing every year where he says, look, if the church has been bad to you, if you had a bad experience as a kid, as a child, like, this is my invitation to come back. I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of that. Like, I want you to come back, and here's why it should be. And it kind of hits me every year that I'm like, again, I'm not into like the religion thing. Like, I think it's a great community. It's just not mine. I'm not knocking anybody who is. But like, it hits me because there's something to be said about like there's this magic that existed with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And I know some of it was financialized, and there's a lot of people in that way. And it's easy to get cynical if you're someone like Garga who has like literal people showing up to your house with guns, right? And there's this thing about the DAO that people were very excited about, and people were taking time spinning up AIPs and trying to get things going there. And I don't know, there's something to be said about like you could win those people back. Like I get brought back. Like there have been times when we've had like passionate thoughts about Bored Ape Yacht Club, but we always come back because we, they can win us back with a good Ape Fest. Like last year, 2 years ago at Hong Kong, I was feeling bad. You went to Ape Fest. You were all the way back. I wasn't as much when I wasn't there. Like Ape Fest in Lisbon, we both felt really, you couldn't make it. I went there, but I left feeling really good about it. And you're like, see, that's it. There's something about winning people back and taking like an existing audience. Like the easiest way to keep your business going is to retain current customers, right? Like that's just like business 101. It's like retaining and making those current customers feel great. I bought honey locally yesterday in the afternoon. It was delivered at night. They sent me a nice text messages. I'm going to buy from there again. They made me feel good. You talk about feeling good. When I went to get that food from the deli and they were out of what I had, I could have been like, crap, they were out of what I had. They didn't tell me. And now I have to order something different, but I ordered something different. And they said, here, grab one of our desserts. We make these really great desserts. We're known for them. Take a slice of cheesecake. Nothing to us, but you're going to be happy about it. And they made me feel good. And we left that. And Dawn and I were like, we can make that a regular spot. There's something to be said about, like, I was thinking when I brought this conversation up, I was thinking so tactically on how to fix this thing with sort of Web 2 methods. But I think you're right. It starts with the why.
Tactics. And yes, those would also have to be implemented, but I think you need to go before tactics. I don't, even the best tactics in the world could fall flat if if the community is apathetic, it's not going to matter. The best tactics in the world aren't going to matter if people don't care. And this is the challenging spot they find themselves in now as things are tightening up. Price of ApeCoin is down. So they're logically going to be, you would think, more protective of treasury. Not as many AIPs getting passed. Like there's this balance where, yeah, you do need to stop the grifting. You need to stop the extracting. At the same time, if people think they can't get access into these funds, if they can't get an AIP even up for vote, a lot of those people are just going to stop voting altogether. They're just going to stop caring altogether. So it is, I do believe, a fine balance that, yeah, the tactics are important, but I think it's actually a bigger issue than any sort of tactics at this point. And it's not an issue, is not the right word. I think there's a real opportunity there as well. It's just, it's got to be dealt with.
I think it's how you do it is kind of what you're getting to, which I think is correct. It's like how you go about it matters. How you like the tactics matter. Like I think there are better communication channels. I think there are better ways to work with people. I think the how, the why behind that also matters. And I think it's almost like a start with the why type situation. So I actually really, it had me thinking more like to your point, like you need to feel a certain way about it. And I think that's something that I think a lot of brands in this space need to get back to. I think people get cynical because there are shitty holders, just like there's shitty customers. But like, I don't know, if somebody if a couple of people patronize your restaurant and they're like pissed off and yell at you or yell at a waitress or treat you poorly, you're not like, I'm shutting down the restaurant. I don't want to do a good job for the people who are the good patrons anymore. You double down on the patrons you like. You double down on the people who are giving you business. You double down on those who have given you positive feedback.
And I think this is the biggest risk or challenge they have in front of them is, it's at a spot. I understand they're going to tighten up. They're going to be more conservative with funds, with expenditures at a time where they really do need to be doubling down on those who haven't left, those who have supported nonstop relentlessly for 3 or 4 years, who a lot of them haven't extracted or grifted from the DAO. You don't want to lose those people. And I do think it's at a, somewhat of a pivotal spot. I think I like the people that are in place to get this, turn the ship around. But I do think it's going to take more than just tactics.
Yeah, there's a phrase we used to have at Nestle called "secure the base," which we did with certain like if DiGiorno is going up against, I don't know, Jack's or whatever pizza, or if Hot Pockets are going up against some other sort of like frozen food type thing. Like it's like, you secure the base. You make sure that those people who already like you even more. And how do you make them feel good about it? And who is that base? For Hot Pockets, if it's gamers, how do you secure that base? And I think that there is something to be said about like securing those people and making them. I mean, it's what made Bored Ape Yacht Club great. It was they had this decentralized group of marketers who went out and made you. I wanted to join the club because, you know, people like, you know, Josh Ong and others that I really, Baron Von Hustle, were like such great ambassadors, and I watched them in spaces and I enjoyed them, and then they were part of this club, and I want to be part of this club. And I think that there is a magic to that, to securing the base, to finding those people. So I think there is something to be said about not just like individuals, but like how you make people feel matters. And this isn't just about the ApeCoin DAO. When you say this, it's about anybody building right now, especially in a bear market. Who's sticking with you? Abstract, by the way, does a tremendous job of this. Abstract, we're like abstract casuals compared to some of these people. They've doubled down on Marianne and other creators and people who are just going and just absolutely BEpic's getting points every week and, you know, getting love from the abstract community. Like, they're doubling down on that. So I don't know, like there's something to be said about that. I think for sure. I might have closed my abstract stream, so I hope people are still on there. I don't know what I just did as I was clicking around, but I might have missed something. But I think I'm still going live on there. We shall see. Speaking of which, see, we're casuals. I want to go to Sasha. I see Sasha popped up here. Probably has some thoughts on this. While I try to figure out if my abstract is still live and streaming. I think it is until I hit stop stream, even if I close the window. So
it's still live. Yeah, it's still
excellent. Live. All right, so we will head that way. But Sasha, go ahead and get in here. GM.
GM, guys, been a long time. Good to be back.
Welcome.
Thanks. I hear the DAO discussion, thought that I'll pop up. Maybe share some thoughts on my experience. If you're down.
Yeah, go for it.
Something you mentioned, Captain, is, you know, you think only 5% are grifters. I think when you talk about the community at large, I think you're right. When you talk about AIPs, at least my experience, I would say that percentage is significantly higher, if not the majority of AIPs that I've ever seen in ApeCoin DAO. As far as the approved AIPs, I don't know if it's half or not, or if it's majority or minority, but it is. I would say it's quite significant. I would say it's at least a third, in my opinion. I think part of this problem is the DAO. I mean, all the things you guys are saying are right, but what the DAO I think really lacks is structure. For one, there's no accountability and never has been. Not for not for the special counsel, not for the admins, not for people who submit AIPs, and then now now they go out and try to get some money back, like try to create accountability.
Real quick pause. Like they are creating accountability now. I appreciate that. I respect that. I think there's two sides of that accountability, and I think the other is equally as important. That you just said there needs to be, and I think this would also get a lot of the community back is. If it wasn't just one-way accountability, which seems to be what has been rolled out. And now I believe that there will be accountability now because there is structure, because you do have an executive director who is effectively the boss of these other individuals there. I believe they'll be held accountable, but I think that if that's shown and people start seeing, things don't get, I know there's also been a bunch of structural changes. So like admin review should be going away. Like, I think if this starts getting seen and felt in terms of like this isn't just AIP authors being held accountable, it's also special counsel, administrative review, the foundation, everyone that's on the other side of those conversations also be held accountable. I think now all of a sudden you can have some serious momentum, creep back in. But if it's appears to be just one-way accountability, that could actually exasperate the issue. For the record, I don't think that's the case. I do think that everyone is being held accountable. I think that's the plan, is to hold everyone accountable. But to acknowledge your point, I think there's a lot of community members, maybe DAO participants, who experience something other, and they want to see that. They want to see that the other side of the conversations also seen being held accountable.
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example in a minute in terms of where I'm coming from with that. But I mean, for example, one of the AIPs I tried to pass is creating accountability on the AIP proposal side, where you have to set milestones. You cannot get the full funding until you achieve milestone 1, right? And then you prove you have whatever stats agreed upon with the community. You move to milestone 2, and then you get the rest of the funding after you complete milestone 2 for your milestone 3, for example, right? Like in 3 pieces. Because most AIPs that are fraudulent. They're not even complete milestone 1. So that way you're only wasting a part of the money instead of the full thing. But that's the kind of structure. What I mean is like there's like when the DAO was created, I think it was very idealistic, and it was like the community is going to create the structure, but it had nothing, no kind of like nothing at all. It was just like, this is how you submit and vote on a proposal. And over the time, it was never created. And whether it's the executive director or the community, you must have the structure. Because when you don't, like, the DAO looks like a great juicy target for anybody who's a bit morally flexible. When you don't have specific rules that are hard, like barriers that are hard to jump over, like with my API has some friction because people are thinking, oh, it's too hard for proposals. People already like not submitting a lot, and this is gonna create more friction, or it's too much work for the admins to track the milestones, etc. But like without it, it looks so simple. It's like there's it used to be a billion. Now the DAO is basically bankrupt. But there used to be like so much money. Why wouldn't I apply and submit and come up with whatever nonsense just in case I get, So I think it's absolutely needed on that side. And of course, on the special counsel, what I mean by that, like we've had some really good people in special counsel, and like I'm not here to name names or anything, but at the same time, just on a purely formal, like legal way, there was never a wording that said, if they don't work X hour per week, if they don't deliver X things, if they don't this and that, they are fired immediately, right? You had to wait until the next election cycle and then kind of reassess. And we all know it's basically popularity contests. It has very little to do with actual performance. So there was no actual structure in terms of like you have a normal job. There's no like real performance review. There's no even like basic requirements. Like we don't even know how many hours you show up every day, right? Like we know nothing. And I'm not sure there was anybody there who, like maybe now there was an executive director, right? But there was nobody there who could just say, yo, you're really not measuring up, or like whatever you're doing is nonsense. Like this is not productive. And this is not an easy question to answer. I'm just saying, like without some structure on both of these ends, like the community does not trust people, quote unquote, in charge. And I'll tell you why in a second. I'm getting to my kind of example. But like once you start breaking the trust little by little, or drama start issuing and there's no accountability, like it's a bomb that goes to explode. I think on the community side, like there's also things like you mentioned Machi. You probably guys familiar. In my opinion, I think he's a fraudster and a scammer.
Well, actually, before you go into that one, let me respond real quick to your first point, because I actually I agree with it, and I want to like build on it. Like we actually had this conversation a while back, and not to relitigate the past, but we had a day when we had a member of the special counsel on our show, and we were talking about all the accountability tracking we do, which is like we tracked every show, every metric against the cost per listener, all these different things, that because we saw it as very serious, we made sure we fulfilled our obligations. We actually had people cancel on us on some of our obligations, which were like made by Ape's interviews on Monday, like in the community, like no issue on our end there. It was just other people canceled on us. And we did those after we finished our AIP to make sure we fulfilled our obligation, even though nobody was asking for accountability. We just want to make sure we did it. But it's funny, when we had the person from the special counsel on the show, they were saying it was too hard to get everybody to meetings, too hard to track meeting minutes. They didn't want to expose people who weren't showing up to meetings. And we're like, what are we doing here if on one end we're doing this deep level of tracking, and on the other end you have people who are, getting paid like a decent amount of money who aren't showing up to meetings and say it's too hard to track and put out meeting minutes, which can be done through AI. So I just want to like double down on your point as far as the accountability mechanism. Now, agree with you also that accountability mechanisms should exist for the AIPs at the same time and should have been built in. And I would wholeheartedly agree with that. But go ahead and keep going. But I just want to like comment on that, because I think your point is salient, and one that we were kind of like, I feel like we're taking crazy pills.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like it works if nothing is bad, right? Like if everything's going great, then people don't really question, and it can pass. But once things start breaking or like running out of money, there's a suspicion of corruption or people not doing their job, whatever, then you're running into this issue where you can't show your work. And when you can't show your work, people think you didn't do any work, and it's really hard to prove your point whether some of them did work, didn't. Like you're just an easy target, and there's no trust, etc. I mean, we all know how it works, but it is wild. I think like if you go to a job, I mean, you paid for a job. It's a full special counsel. I mean, so they're all full-time jobs. If you can't, like if you told your boss it's too hard for me to track what I'm doing, like you'll be immediately fired. So I do think, like in some sense, again, there's some good people there, But like, I think like the either the ego or privilege, whatever, are so insane that they would say these things that are for other people are just unimaginable to be said. There's also this thing where like I feel like they've signed some NDA or something, and they pointed out multiple times they can't speak to what exactly they're doing. I think there was this whole like SEC shadow, right, weighing.
Yeah, I do want to jump in because like some of this, I just want to move on because some of this already has been addressed, and it is. I get what you're saying. A lot of that is in the past, and they have made a bunch of changes where that's not in play anymore. I don't want to keep relitigating past. Like we have to appreciate, acknowledge the changes that have been made to fix some of that, and focus on the current state, not the way it was.
Cool. So for me currently, like. I'll tell you why I like stopped participating and don't really intend to come back. The last IP I submitted was to put 20% of the fund into Bitcoin because to just in case to save it, right? The idea was like if the Bitcoin goes down, everything's dead. And I think that was like a year ago almost, and it went into review multiple times. Last time it seemed to have come back as basically there's no questions. But then it disappeared, and when the ApeCoin conversation started coming along, like just there was no communication, and sometimes you wait a month, whatever. I think it's been at least 6 months, and then the money from the DAO was appropriated to ApeCoin, which I think ApeCoin is great. I support, personally, I support the allocation. But at the same time, like my story is not a singular story, right? There's been so many people who have the same exact experience, where when somebody, I don't know who, I will probably never know, but somebody somewhere there did not want an AAP passed, it would be infinitely delayed.
Yeah, again, I just want to cut you off. Wholeheartedly agree. We went through the same challenges. We went through the same frustrations. This is all historical stuff, though. Like we also had an AIP to help manage funds better, and it would 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks would go by before you can get a response back. I agree with everything you're saying, but I do not believe that is the current state of the DAO. Would have been better off today had they moved a bunch of their treasury, forget Bitcoin, even into stables or manage it themselves instead of paying Coinbase a big fee. Yeah, I agree with you, but we can't go back and change the past. Let's focus on now, not older AIP. Because it's like the special count.
I'm not making my point clear. My point is like whatever we're doing now is just, which I guess already said, like if this happens again, my question is where is the accountability, right? Who's getting fired when whoever somebody's AAP is not replied to for 4 weeks? Like, and my opinion, unless there is these clear rules, how can anybody trust anybody, executive director, whoever? Because I can't, if I know for sure that the only way
it's going on chain. I think that to cut you off, it's the whole process is changing. Like it's going on chain, so that the admin review won't be a thing. You'll be able to see all this stuff. Like you have valid complaints. As I understand it, all that has been addressed and is not the current state or the go forward state. So to your point, if things don't get done after it's on chain and fully transparent, then yeah, Cam's going to have to fire some people. But I think that's all in play. So I think we're kind of talking in circles here because this is a lot of stuff they recognize and why partially they made some of these changes to take more control over the DAO so that if people aren't doing their job, they can make those proper changes.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I'll just double down and say like, agree. Like, I think this is like the problem that we're addressing. And to your point, like, this is, I think, the opportunity for the new leadership to say, show me, right? Like, show me accountability. And it's my hope that we get some of the accountability communicated on both ends. And I think you're right. Like on AIPs, there needs to be accountability. And on the side of those who are approving them, there needs to be accountability. And I think you're right in that part is missing. Like the point that you made that I think was salient is that if you went to your job and were like, I can't provide updates, it's too hard, you get fired. And I think that's where I'm hoping, and here's where I'm hopeful, and I'll just kind of like, try to end on a Pollyanna note, is that, I know and have talked to Cam. I know and have talked to one. Like we've worked with Wabam. Like I feel better about the direction of the DAO now than I previously did. I think it's just a matter of like, how do you get those people back? How do you make them feel that? And how do you earn back that trust? Because I think similar to the relationship argument, it's like if you've broken trust, how do you earn it back? And I think that's going to be interesting to follow and go. And for me, they've gone a long way in recognizing certain things, at least with us personally. We've been very fortunate in that way. And I have, similar to Cap, I have stronger feelings about the direction they're going and their accountability and their due diligence. I can't get into details, but I have I have had enough calls and conversations to think that they are doing far more accountability and due diligence measures than previously. And it's actually not, it's a thing where it's like, it's not best for us from a quote unquote financial perspective where they're just throwing around money, but it's actually best for us from a future of the DAO perspective. And you know, Cap and I have had calls after having calls with them, been like, wow, I'm very excited about the direction of this, where they are actually running this thing properly with people in place who are trying to look at it from a, again, I don't want to get into details because it's their story to tell, and I'll be curious if they will. In fact, I'm even trying to hit up one of the people who's involved and ask if they'll even go through some of it, because I think it will be really well received to be like, oh, we're thinking through this properly now as a business, as a opportunity to grow, and as an opportunity to reward the right people in the ecosystem. So anyway, I'll leave it there, because I think Sasha, you bring up some very valid, strong points, and I think we felt it as well as a lot of other people, and it has led to a lot of good discussions. And I you know, I don't want to be like too cautiously optimistic, but I think, you know, when I was saying my initial thought was like, how do you get people back participating again? And I think what I'm hearing from you and how you felt about the process, what I'm hearing from Cap, if I kind of put those things together, I'm hearing that there needs to be accountability shown on both sides. There needs to be a clear drive and objective to things that you're doing. And there needs to be trust built up. And I think that's going to be their challenge, is making people feel that they can trust them. So I don't know if that tracks with you, Cap.
Well, and they're, I mean, to Sasha's point, they've already lost people like himself who aren't even, they've already checked out. And that has to be like, they've made changes, but there's a lot of people who were very passionate, involved in the DAO, who aren't even aware of these changes because they've already checked out. So I like, yes, all that stuff the accountability is important, but I think it's not just going to happen overnight. Like, it's going to take some time to regain trust that has eroded over the last few years. But fortunately, like,
I have an idea for that. And it's kind of a question for you guys. What do you think? Because I think before, like, to be fair, right, in a way, like the legal situation 4 years ago when a DAO was established seemed quite different. So I wonder if they're making more moves now because they feel with a like new SEC regime, etc., they're able to make those moves, right?
Yes, they've said this,
and therefore that could be a good way to explain it and say, hey guys, we know, okay, we learned a lot. Things were good, things were bad, but now we can do this, and now we can establish a structure. So we're basically creating a new version of the DAO based on a new legal atmosphere. And I think that's a good messaging to give people a reason to take a fresh look at the whole thing and maybe come back. Obviously, the changes have to be made and have to be good, but like, you know, some of them, I wasn't keeping up. So like, I'm sorry if it's frustrating if I'm relitigating because I wasn't aware of the new changes per se. I was just trying to explain why I think people might have left what needs to get done. But if now they're doing that, like, for me, that's great news, right? I've always wanted to wish success for the DAO, whether I'm in it or not. But it, like, if I wasn't mega busy with my own project, like, that would be interesting to me to hear, oh, wow, okay, new changes, new legal framework. We can actually maybe have things now that, you know, are not as restrictive, and somebody can lead this charge, because before, like, you know, DAOs are just hard. When a community just leads, it's just hard. Having somebody in charge, if that's legally permissible, personally, I think that's a much clearer message and more hopeful one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great point. Yes, the answer is, and you know, no, not, I like, the thing is, like, not really frustrated. It's something that I think that we have come to expect, because there are people that are lost. And I've had this happen with communities I'm in. I can't think of an example off the top of my head where I'll say something and people will be like, it's not like that anymore. I'm like, okay, well, I checked out, you know, 8 months ago and I can't keep up with it, and fool me once type thing. And I think a lot of people have those feelings. So I think it's totally fair and valid. And, you know, I appreciate the perspective, and you've been very close to this, very close to a lot of things, frankly, in this world. So I appreciate, you know, you and sort of the diving in that you've done here. I would just say I agree. And I think that the regulatory is the thing, and it's got my wheel spinning, Cap, as far as, like, I don't know, like, whether it's ApeChain or the DAO, like, some sort of comms that they could do to try to start to, like, bring people back at the very least. Obviously not necessarily marketing, but what are some comms they could do that they could release to help people understand directionally where they're going, the changes that are going in place, and do it beyond, you know, we were part of the PR strategy on the announcement. I think we had a lot of, you know, good feedback on that. how do you move forward and continue that going? And what does that look like? And it's not just a Twitter thread, but it's actually, utilizing a bunch of different strategies. So I need to think about what that would be, because I do care about the future of this this DAO and this
may
this.
I suggest something?
Yeah.
I think it's something you actually mentioned, because you mentioned with abstract, and when you were talking about abstract, what really clarified in my head, and I think that's exactly what you were saying, is like Bored Apes have community, but no platform, whereas abstract has created a platform, and they do also have community. And I think what's BAYC is lacking, like we were hoping Other Side will be that platform, right? But what seems to be lacking is like this sort of, what is this world like? How do we? What is our digital property that is Bored Apes? Like, even like something simple as point system on an abstract. We don't even know where those points lead, exactly how much they're gonna yield. But there's some direction, and there is a structure that is simple and clear and easy to understand. Whereas apes, we're just like, we're doing everything, we're conglomerating, but there's no, like, it's not a platform. There's no platform at all. The Other Side doesn't exist at this point. So I think that's where they would want to structure it similar to how abstract does it, and give it a focus of that sort, and maybe learn from Luca or take some hints in terms of how to build that part of it, because you've got to put community on a platform if you want to have impact.
Yeah, that's well said. And that's something that abstract does extremely well. Not only the platform, but again, the recognition of the platform. They take their top customers and they make them feel really, really special. And I think that is an opportunity we could potentially see continuing to manifest itself with sort of Yuga and apes and other things. Because the thing about abstract is, like, I will say this, Cap, and then I know we're about 20 minutes over, so we can wrap here in a sec. But I will say this, like, I think one thing abstract does better than, or Pudgy does better than any other community, is they're not concerned if you have 10 followers or 10 million followers. They look at their biggest advocates, and some of the streamers that are absolutely cooking are people with less than 1,000 followers, a few more than 1,000 followers on X. So they don't look at those metrics and say, this is the driving force of why we're going to promote certain people. And I think it would be interesting to see that play out as well, where it's like, who are your top supporters who could make people who are becoming abstract streamers who are going to get massive airdrops because they said, I'm going to double down on this. And abstract said, we see you, right? Like, we got tagged in a tweet with some people, and a couple of them are like, I don't know, like much, much smaller follower accounts, but they're cleaning up on abstract because abstract has doubled down on them. So there's probably something there, but something to think on for sure and meditate on for that. But good discussion. It actually got me thinking about it a little bit different. And I mean, like we said, optimistic of the future direction based on the leadership that's in place and the conversations we've had. So we'll see where it nets out. But Cap, any cleanup before we let everyone get out of here?
I don't think so. Just Slime wins the clip of the day. He caught my my screech when I found $20 in my pocket. So thanks for that. That's pinned up top. The carousel for the rest of the week. If you've not yet hit those reminders for Thursday and Friday, that'll be all the way at the left. As Steve plays us out here. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Yep. Appreciate everyone coming through this morning. We'll continue to work our way through the bear market. Thanks to everyone who came up to speak today. Joey, Sasha, Funky, all the other friends who came up to chat. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.